tending to got ruined for me. And so the girl, there was a woman who got off mic. I don't know if she's still here, but she said it earlier, and I want to really emphasize that. Once you start asking me for money, it ruined it. Because you have a different agenda. You have a different goal. You have a different motivation. I have a business. My little company does, in a bad year, 25 million, in a good year, 30 million. That's it. I don't ask you for money. I'm not trying to sell you my products. I'm not even finding out if you could buy my products, because I came on this app for entertainment, outsourcing, learning. I came on this app because I was bored during COVID. Michael up on your top right-hand corner right now. I mean, he and I was involved in his rooms and the Truth Seeker Tavern. I think it's as good as you want it to be if you run the rooms like you. That's so. But once you asked me for money, I was like, eh. And I want to just say something that Roger just said. He said he thinks America is the least racist country on the planet. I could not agree with him more. You cannot tell me a law currently in 2025 that prevents anybody in this country from doing anything. I'm a traveler. I go on planes. I go to hotels. I rent cars. I go to restaurants. I see plenty of multiculturalism everywhere I go, and there's nobody preventing anybody from doing a goddamn thing. I'm going to yield my mic. Thanks for allowing me to talk. And a great room, JB, as always.
And Andy, I'm sorry. I was going to say Andy, and you know what? Some of us, because some of us have talked, Andy, myself, Mike, we've developed friendships too that have helped us in developing the crowdsourcing we've got. So it's beyond that. I mean, we don't just talk inside this app anymore. So I think Andy, you hit all the points.
Well, let me talk.
Rob, I thought you left the room, but Rob is one of the other people that I followed, and I went to every room he was in because he was a source of great information. Again, I think you seek out what you want. I wanted information. I wanted to learn about COVID. We just got a little bit involved in it. When the President of the United States, Biden, says if you take the shot, you won't get the disease, and you won't spread it, and you won't give it to grandma. That was a lie, or that was inaccurate. I couldn't talk about it on Facebook. I couldn't talk about it on Twitter. But I could talk about it with guys like Rob and Mike and the 50 other guys I can mention off the top of my tongue. And that was the invaluableness of this app at the time. And today, you want to have a topic, you want to control it like JB does, the app is perfect. The rooms are great. JB's never asked me for a penny. I love his rooms. I'm done.
Thank you. I didn't know you were doing 30 million a year, so I might have not kidding, Andy. But God bless and good for you. But I just got to give some flowers because, people say, oh, you're such a good man and blah, blah, blah. Man, listen, none of this is possible without Mojo. Mojo definitely empowered me. He's my friend in real life. And we can't cultivate some good relationships. I always say, pick your tribe, don't let your tribe pick you. And don't fall for the cute words that people say to get you in their circle. But man, let me tell you something. What you people don't know, because everybody internalizes everything that's said on this app. Mojo's the real deal. Not just on this app, but in real life. This is my friend. And we disagree on so many. Don't even get me started on gun rights. Because that'll just blow this room up. But let me say good morning to David. Good morning, David.
Good morning. I was listening earlier, and two things. I'm really glad Norma and maybe Andy mentioned, some of the things that were great. And I think we need to go back to that. But really, when I was in the audience, you hit on it. It's moderation. We still go in rooms that are well moderated, and we have enjoyable times, and that's what it comes down to. I think too many people here are allowed to troll. Not that they're bad people, but to troll for their own sport. I mean, that's how they get their jollies, and that can get tiresome really quick. But it occurred to me after the last two speakers were talking, we should also do a room with, what was great about Clubhouse, because it brought back a lot of memories. I mentioned your October 7th room, what I've learned here. I came here just because I bought a car and I found a community and people I've made friends with and have meaningful relationships with on a daily basis. I would never have found that without Clubhouse.
I agree, David.
Hey.
Hold on. Wait, go ahead, Mike. We'll go Mike and then Shay.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea about the great things, because it was. But I'm going to talk about the tough thing. There was. It wasn't just trolls that were out there. We always had trolls coming to manage them. We had people. We would set up, basically an infrastructure to manage that. But we had people that were most likely paid, and now probably came from USAID, to come in and detract, disengage, to knock us off our goal, and destabilize the room, and eventually try to burn it to the ground. There were some serious actors that were involved, and some were exposed, UN subgroups, and they were typically doctors. They took a lot of interns in the first year.
Well, Mike, don't even
turn them loose on
Mike, don't mute up. Let me just say this: they're still here. By the way, Aaron Berger, Aram, these people are still here. They're paid to come in and disrupt the rules. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, and I also believe there were agencies involved. I'll just leave it at that, as well as because they did not want, as much as I'm gratefully appreciative to the owners of the staff to allow us to do what we did. The agencies may have treated it as a honeypot as well, to get a pulse, because there was no other app that would tolerate what we were doing. So, but it was sporty, that's for sure.
Thank you, Em. So I changed the title to the room by popular demand, and it seems the question is, what made or makes Clubhouse great? The answer is you. So let me say hello to Dr. Jordan. Dr. Jordan's one of those people, like when I first met him, I'm like, this guy's an asshole. But as I got to know him over the years, man, I got nothing but love, respect, and admiration for Jordan. And you know why? Because Jordan's always Jordan. He doesn't try to be somebody else. Good morning, Dr. Jordan.
Good morning. Thank you. It's touching. Yeah, I think I love Clubhouse. I mean, it has its faults. I'm more concerned about what happened to Facebook, but Clubhouse is fantastic. It's a great place to convene. I think all of us grow as people on here because we get so much feedback about each other. I mean, where else do you get feedback? Blatant criticism. So I think it's a great app.
Thank you, Jordan.
David, Dr. Jordan? I haven't seen him in a couple of years. Holy cow, brother.
Good. How are you?
Yeah, Jordan's definitely an OG on the set. But David, you wanted to jump in?
Just real quick, I think even when some of the rooms got tedious, and we had like 3 months of what I call 3 months of Kanye here, and I never imagined. I guess I don't want to go back to race, but how much not baggage, but hurt people carry and don't let go of, and also hold on to things that may or may not be true. And after a few hours, and after the largest voices went away, the people who stayed could really talk and learn from each other, and those were valuable nights.
I think there's still a large voice. I'm sorry, Shay, I skipped over you. My apologies. I'm going to come to you in a second. One of the things I don't understand is I'm literally down the center when it comes to politics. I believe I am. Other people disagree with that assessment. But how people get so personal over somebody's political party. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're Republican. I can care less if you're a Democrat. But we pick our politicians like we pick our sports teams. Go ahead, Shay.
Hey, you know what, JB? You just said something that reminded me of something I used to say over in the preservation. All of our differences won't make a difference when the people who are coming against all of our different differences have us lined up with different numbers on the same colored jumpsuit. So at the end of the day, we have to put those differences aside in order to make a difference in the world that we like to call home. Which leads me to this. What made Clubhouse great was the communities that we were able to build up. Sitting in a community with Mike and Rob and some of the other folks who aren't here right now over in the preservation, out in real life, doing my real life thing with my real life family, on the occasion, people would hear my voice. And they would approach me. And they're like, I know you. And I'm looking at them like, no, you don't. I'm like, I follow you on Instagram, but I heard you on Clubhouse. You won't believe the things that you said that helped me and my family do dot, 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 dot. Whether it was helping them make the informed decision for themselves, whether to take the jab or not take the jab, if they chose not to take the jab, helping them get in the paperwork necessary that they needed to secure their employment, whether it was popping in to one of these survival sustainable rooms, understanding what a bug out bag is, what you should put in, what you shouldn't put into it, or more so specifically narrowed down to my niche. Homesteading and gardening. Shay, you helped me get my garden started. Blah blah blah. So we've all made. Can't say we all, but I would hope to say a good chunk of us have made a impactful difference in society by way of having the opportunity to hold a green bean or have an opportunity to have the mic and say what we need to say. Some of us have really actually touched lives to some of the people out here in the goo. And to me, that's what made Clubhouse great. I helped somebody else improve their life by way of Clubhouse.
Oh, I love that shit, because I say it all the time. I hate the word influencer. We're all influencers. You could say something that can resonate with somebody in the chat that you have no idea that you resonated with them. You can change people's lives. I know I have. I know other people in the stream have.
Did I
Kristen, yeah, Kristen.
Yeah. So I just remembered. Do y'all remember those humans that were trying to get so many followers that did MLMs and were like, this just reminded me of like, we want to help you. I'm not talking about you, Shane. I'm talking about people who are no longer on here. We're trying to get like over 20,000. Yeah, we get 20,000 followers because they did some stupid MLM thing. They had some money in it. Good God. Not that it killed Clubhouse, but it was like that was. Ugh.
Yeah, no, that definitely did kill Clubhouse. Follow me, follow your moderators, da 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 da. No, one thing that I said when I was, top left, don't follow me. Follow everybody else in the space. Follow the people that you want to resonate with, because if you follow me, you're probably going to change your life. So yeah, hearing constantly every other, speaker, follow your moderator.
Make sure you follow the room.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Respectfully, saying don't follow me is a backdoor way of asking people to follow you. You're
reverse.
I really didn't want people following me because I went into spaces that people probably be like, what the F is she doing in here? Like, I really didn't.
What spaces were you going into? Were you like having the BDSM rooms? What were you doing that you didn't want people following you?
Roger, I can't tell you that. Look, Roger, what happens at Clubhouse After Dark stays on Clubhouse After.
I'm just saying I want the invite. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm going to get back, Mojo. Before I go to First Lady, Mojo, CEO, wanted to have a dialogue with you. CEO, are you there?
I am, yeah. So, so Roger, in response to you saying America's the least racist country, I agree with you, but I think it's also the most racist country. So it's racist and intolerant. That doesn't sound like an agreement. I'll tell you why. It's the most racist and most tolerant. Here's why. There's no other country on the earth that could have the amount of diversity America does without completely imploding. So that's where I agree with you. It's the most racist for the same reason, in the sense that when 40% of your population is different than the main population, that creates a lot of tension, a lot of challenges, and a lot of problems. So that's why I say it's.
Okay, well, I'm not going to argue that point. I think that one of the there's two very disappointing things that happened when we discuss race on this app, and that was what I had said, because people love to talk about race on this app. And here's the two disappointing things. You have one camp that doesn't want to acknowledge that there was historical injustices, and I think those people are idiots. However, there's a more dangerous group of people, and those are the people that don't want to recognize that there's been progress that's been made, and in fact, that we've gone out of our way to make sure that we rid ourselves of laws that would discriminate against people. And I think the lack of acknowledgement of the progress that we've made, like for example, I did a room one day and we were talking about is the country less racist in 2025 than it was in 1960? And then people would say no, which is just fucking absurd, right? Then I would ask those same people, okay, well, is it less racist than it was in 1860? And then they would say no. And so this is the problem. You have people that literally live for stirring up racial tension. And if you can't acknowledge that there's been progress, then you are the problem.
Thank you, Mojo. CEO, did you want to push back on that, or am I moving on?
No, listen, I agree. I agree with that. I think Roger went like people don't acknowledge the progress from 1960 to 1860, then that's just disqualifying them from having a reasonable conversation.
Thank you, Rob. I got you. Give me a second. I have to say hello to the First Lady because she's my friend and I like her. What's up, First Lady?
JB, how are you?
I'm great. So for those of you who don't know, Lady G, First Lady, she runs a great house called Politically Correct. Her and CEO always there. So follow her if you want to have a great conversation. So First Lady, what made or makes Clubhouse great?
Well, I mean, obviously, you and me, right? I'm First Lady of Clubhouse. I gave myself that name, not Clubhouse. Anyway, what makes it great is the ability to meet so many people all across the globe. People can dial in from Kuwait, from the Middle East, from Egypt. I've met so many different people. And, what makes it great for me is being able to connect and, have conversations, spread love, spread light, spread joy. Those are the wonderful things that I enjoy about Clubhouse. And I think that is what makes it great. And in addition to that, what makes it great is continuously building community, no matter where you are. The more I know about someone else, it allows me to find the empathy in conversation. I may not agree with you, but I can find why or understand or try to understand why you feel that way. And then move on, finding different perspectives of different people's thoughts just helps me to live a better, well-rounded, balanced life. So thank you.
Thank you, First Lady. There's a few people on this app, or quite a few people. I'm still trying to understand the perspective 5 years later. But let me say good morning to Tomato. Tomato, what's up?
Hey, I posted some link. That's what Rogers said. And I think it's not the right room to have an in-depth discussion. And for me, Clubhouse is great because it brings together people from different economic classes that don't interact. America is very, very, very segregated based on your economic class, based on your education level. And Clubhouse is the only venue I know of where people can break those bonds and communicate personally.
Thank you, Tomato. Guys, we're going to go popcorn style, grab the mic. All I ask is that you respect the one mic policy. So we're going to go popcorn style.
I know First Lady still owes me dinner, so I'm going to hold her to that until she pays up. I'm not going to call her the First Lady of Clubhouse. She just hasn't followed through.
These are lies, Brad.
Wait, hold on. You're not paying your debt, First Lady? I'm shocked.
I'm shocked as well. I went and I drove all the way to where Brad is and told him to meet me at the restaurant, and he never showed up. So now he's saying that.
Wait a second, hold on.
Yes,
Brad,
he stood me up. He stood me up.
You ghosted First Lady, Brad?
Yep.
Well, to be fair, I received a call from the President of the United States and he needed me in the Situation Room. And so I had to just like quickly cancel. You can't turn down the President of the United States.
I'm turning him down for Chi, I can tell you that.
I have a question for Chi. Chi, is your room, remind me, is that where they have this silly woman by the name of Sin as a moderator in there? Is that the room?
I don't know if I consider her as being silly, but there is someone there by the name of Sen that is coming.
Okay, so I was in that room one day, and no disrespect to you, but maybe it was just a bad day, but it was like, when we talk about what's killing Clubhouse, that was one of the experiences. This woman was talking about, government programs this, government programs that, and then I just simply talked about like private charity or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then she gets into this on her high horse about like how she does all this work. And then I go, oh, that's interesting. I go, yeah. I go, why don't you, I called her out. I said, why don't you put your private charity that you just spoke about in the chat and I'll make a donation. And instead of posting it, she actually removed me from the room. I think that was an admission that she actually wasn't doing anything. And so I would say that the people that are in some of these rooms, and I'm not calling you out, but because it happens everywhere, but there are some people that are just completely fucking fraudulent, and they make these claims like, I'm out there doing work, I'm building community, and it's like, really? Well, why don't you post this fucking work that you're doing and I will support it? I'm a very generous person. If she would have posted it, I legit would have given her $500 to whatever charity it was. I wouldn't have even cared if I disagreed with it because I would have been impressed that somebody's actually telling the truth, that they're doing something in their community. I think most of the people on this app are full of shit when they talk about that, and she's a prime example of somebody that's a complete fucking...
My recollection of that day isn't quite the same, Roger. I do agree that you got thrown out of a room in a rude way, and I disagreed with it, and I pushed back on it on stage. But it wasn't for that reason. It was more so that, like, she was giving you a certain level of energy. You were giving some of that energy back, which I thought was fair. But then, yeah, you got thrown out for it. So I agree you were thrown out incorrectly. But I don't agree with you on it.
How come she didn't post her charity?
Privacy reasons. Some people just don't like sharing anything that's going to allow you to connect them to who they are off of the app.
She's not a very good
fundraiser. Like to stay private. Yeah, you don't want to fundraise on Clubhouse, though. You don't want to fundraise on Clubhouse.
Well, no, but she brought it up. If she wanted the privacy about it, why did she... See, this is...
She didn't name it, though, right? She didn't name the number.
No, she's like, I'm out there doing work. I'm doing this. And I'm like, yeah, show me. And then, no, can't do that. Listen, yeah. I honestly, I think women like that make these fucking asinine claims, I guarantee that bitch is on a couch eating Doritos with crumbs all over her fucking shirt. She ain't fucking put on no fucking work boots in a fucking minute. She was so full of shit. Like, they get on here on Clubhouse and they talk about doing work. They're not doing fucking work. They're running their fucking mouth.
Yeah, I was in that room too. I think she does do work. I'm going to disagree. I'm not going to let that.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, Mike. Let me just say this. I'm still more in shock that Brad ghosts First Lady. I mean, he's just, what is wrong with some of you people? That's what's wrong with Clubhouse.
I know Mike wants to speak. I'll speak after Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
I was in that room too, and I agree that they were giving each other a little bit of shit, but her fear of being called out for the fact that she said she ran a charity and then her inability to say what it was palpable. Like when he called her out, I said, well, really, what is it? It was like she was surprised to hear that question, and I think she was totally full of shit. So there's one more.
Okay, so that's the beauty of living in America. That is the beauty of Clubhouse. We all are entitled to our opinions. And just because you have an opinion or just because you have a feeling about something doesn't make it factual. It just means that that's your perception of it. And that's what I was speaking about just recently. You know, who knows why she didn't provide the information? It could have been just because it was a heated conversation leading up to that. She didn't feel trust from you. And then probably thought that you were trying to show her out, and then that's the reason why they removed you. But yeah, you know, such is life. I don't know why you had to call her the B word and say that she eating Doritos on the couch and getting crumbs all in between. But, you know, to each his own.
Yeah, but those are words. Those aren't going to hurt anybody. I mean, like...
That's the thing, bro. I mean, Mojo, words do hurt.
No. I come from a generation where we had a saying that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And I think the generation that said that words are violence are part of the fucking problem.
First lady, you gave one option. First lady just gave one option of why she could have been unwilling to say it. That is a possibility, right? And you said opinions, everybody has an opinion. It's true, everybody does. But when somebody makes a claim and they're unwilling to back it up with proof, I can't give them the benefit of the doubt anymore, because there's too many liars, especially on Clubhouse. If she's going to use her charity as an example of her altruism, then I'm going to look for a tangible example to believe it exists. And if she's unwilling to do that, I'm not going to default to, oh, she probably has one and she just doesn't want to collect funds right now from Roger. I'm not going to default to that. Common sense is going to tell me, oh, I'm not really sure she's telling the truth. And if somebody else can raise their hand and say, oh, no, I can give evidence she has a charity, she just doesn't want to say the name of it, that's fine. But I haven't heard anyone in here say that you know she has a charity and that she just didn't want to name it because she somehow told you she has one. What I hear is a bunch of people giving her excuses for not providing evidence of what she was claiming. And until I find out that there's some testimonial out there that this charity exists, I'm going to default personally, because I use common sense and critical thinking, to that concept that there's a more than likely chance she's full of shit, and there's a small chance that she has a charity that needs money that she was unwilling to say in a public forum amongst a bunch of supporters, that even if Roger didn't want to give her money, somebody else in the room might have. And furthermore, I'm going to assume she would have mentioned this charity some other time by name in a smaller group setting where Roger wasn't personally asking her for proof, that other people could have raised their hands and said, oh, she has one.
Mike, hold on a second. Why are we dragging this lady? A, she's not here to defend us.
Because I was there. It's ridiculous. And I like dragging liars. I like dragging liars.
Okay, but we don't know if she's a liar. So, and I'm going to say why. Maybe she didn't want to give the name for self-preservation reasons, because we know that people make the worst out of everything on this app, right?
It's a non-profit. What are you talking about? If she really ran a non-profit, she should be screaming it from the rooftops to get support. Somebody offered to fund it, and she didn't fucking offer it. She was completely full of shit.
In that moment, maybe she wouldn't have given it. In that very moment, when she was being challenged, she would have told somebody else in the past.
Can I finish, please? Thank you. That's all I ask. People weaponize everything on this fucking app. And maybe she was just defending herself. Maybe she doesn't utilize this. I don't know Sin that well. I just know her from the rooms I've shared. I don't know her in real life. I'm not gonna stand, but she's not here. She wants to come in and stand on her square. That's her business. This is one of the problems. Hold on, Roger. Please let me finish. This is one of the problems with this app. Is that people want to weaponize things, but without context of why she's not doing it. Why does she have to answer to us, first off? Look ahead, Roger.
Yeah, if she'll bring her lion ass into this room right now, I'll up to 1,000.
I'll kick in another 100.
Okay. Wow. Brad, you want to kick it too?
No, I've got burned on this app so many times with charities. There was a woman who had breast cancer that was losing her house, and I gave several thousand to that one. Let's see, what was the other one?
Oh no.
Yeah, that turned out to be fake.
Don't forget the African Muslim.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do find it odd. I will say this, maybe. I find it odd that somebody wouldn't promote a charity, considering the number of fucking charities and foundations that have been asked for and the amount of money that has gone, including a woman who said her son was missing on the app and he was kidnapped or something along those lines, and they were raising funds to help get private detectives. I kicked in for that one. I felt terrible because as a parent, I would burn the world down to find my kids. There would be no one safe in the entire world. Friend, family, it wouldn't matter until I found my kids. So, I couldn't imagine the pain that was going through.
Brad, I kicked into that one too, by the way.
Yeah, and I mean, whenever I hear charity now, and I have to hand it off to KK, she made me promise that if I ever give anybody money on this app, I have to match that amount to her equally, because she'll give it to a charity she runs. And I'm kind of like, all right, and I kind of pulled back. We've helped out a lot of people. I bought wheelchairs, paid for an organ transplant. Like, I know a lot of you don't know much about that, but there's a lot of fees and transportation costs. Fucking donated thousands of dollars to that, and that woman was at least real. At least she was getting service, and she was so grateful, and she posted everything and her recovery and all that stuff. It was fantastic. Like, hats off to it. But there's just been a lot of fucking fake charities, fake GoFundMe's, like whatever it is. I'm just kind of weary now. I'm with everybody else. I'm kind of. I don't agree with Mike often. I agree with him in this stance. I think it's, it's just our experience on Clubhouse.
Thank you.
May I ask one more question, just and then we can change the subject about this. But for those of you that were in that room, if you could just tell me if I'm lying or even exaggerating about what happened, call me out on that. And if I was telling it 100% how it happened, go ahead and indicate that too. Keep me honest.
All right. Nobody wants to speak. Well, let me just say this to the top. What makes Clubhouse great? Marshall Rankin makes this Clubhouse great. Marshall's one of the most underappreciated people on this app. And he always brings knowledge, respect, and courtesy, man. Marshall, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate you. I had a personal issue in real life, and I reached out to Marshall, and this is on my children. The man didn't hesitate to help me. It had nothing to do with money, by the way. So before you people say I asked him for money, it had nothing to do with money. But Marshall is the real one, and he's a great human being. How you doing, Marshall?
Before Marshall speaks, I want to jump in on that. Out of all the people on Clubhouse, I think I'm tough. And maybe it's, just, ego or whatever it is you want to. I've gone through a lot in life. I think I'm a tough man. I think, I'm the pagan Viking, as Gerard likes to call me, and all this stuff. I'm going to say Marshall is probably tougher than I am, because that man has gotten abuse from everybody, keeps it smiling, keeps it moving, and bullets don't penetrate him, man. He's fucking Superman on this app. He is tough. He does it with aplomb. He does it with grace. He does it with kindness and measures. And even when him and I have gotten back and forth, and still love the guy. Can be pissed off at him for a while, but I still love the guy, and I think everybody just including myself, take a step back and breathe once in a while, because Marshall's never meant to harm a single person on this app, and he loves this app more than anybody else on it.
I agree with that.
Thanks,
Marshall,
guys.
good morning.
I really appreciate that. Morning. How are y'all doing?
You're here, so we're doing something right. Do you want to chime in on what makes Clubhouse great?
I think at its best, it's the ability to have a conversation that expands one's mind or makes somebody more humble. And it's worse, it's a mix between Montel Williams and Jerry, Montel Williams and Maury Povich, but at its best, it allows people to have conversations instead of debates, and humans are just more likely to pick up good information in a discussion that's not a contest. If it's a contest, we tend to not get as much out of it. So I think the ability to meet people from all across the world and see their view, right? Like, I have some I have some like pretty interesting American imperial views. But I've met some people from the UK. I met a dude from Serbia, and some of the way I think about foreign policy, for example, is a little bit different than when I started. At its best, it allows you to grow as a person. At its worst, it's a gossip machine on steroids.
Thank you, Marshall. I'm going to introduce the next speaker. I didn't want him on my statement of my rules, but Celtic debates. Anthony, the mic is yours.
Hey Marshall, man. I just want to, give you your flowers as well. You're definitely, a shining point of light. Amazing dude. Mojo, like, yo, Roger, as hard as they come, man, and got nothing but the utmost respect for that dude. He'll get down in the weeds. He'll go hard, and he'll fight for his point. He will debate anybody. He never runs. He's stand up guy, man. Stand up guy. Just there's so many people. I can't even speak to everyone on the app, but I love people that can, stand on their square, express their idea without, having to run. So, to all, everybody that applies to, God bless you.
Say something to Anthony that I don't think I've ever said out loud, but there is a lot of people on this app that have opinions that don't fit a popular narrative, whether it's for the room, whether it's for the app, whether it's society at large. Anthony is probably the most consistent person that I've heard on this app. That doesn't mean I agree with everything. He and I have argued about a lot of shit, but I appreciate consistency. That's when you can test conviction, is when somebody is consistent. They don't code switch depending on what rooms they're in. Anthony has a narrative that infuriates people, and it would be very easy if he wanted to make friends to just, he could cut the corners off of it and make it a little easier for people to digest. And he just speaks his mind. And again, I think he's wrong about some things, but I really do appreciate people like Anthony, and I hope he continues to do that on and off.
Hey Mojo, I gotta go pick up my dog from the groomer. You want to keep it open?
Yeah, let's keep it open for a minute. I'm gonna go a little later today. I'm gonna be driving some supercars, so I won't be on here all day today. But yeah, we can keep it going.
All right, catch you guys later.
What inspired the title today? Was anybody in that room yesterday, the debate the Bills room? It got pretty big.
Well, I'll walk you through the history of it. So, a couple of days ago, Lou Fax, who I think is one of the best moderators this app has ever had, ran a room talking about, Clubhouse reunion, and some people returned to it. And then grifter-ass Jonathan Bing, who's never had an original thought in his fucking entire life, ran a room in Debate the News. And I'm not personally attacking him, other than just this observations of truth and statements of facts are not a problem. And so Jonathan Bing's just a big no talent that has that tries to draft off other people's momentum. He did that for years with Jerry Malcolm. Then he did it with Nelson, and then even he'll draft off the momentum of what Lou does. And so he started a room saying, Clubhouse reunion, you people are the ones that ruined it. Well, talking about ruin it, Jonathan Bing single-handedly ruined Chatter. And so there's kind of been a theme that's gone on. Yesterday there was a room, on a similar topic after Bing's, and now we're doing this. I think we're going to talk this thing to death, but I'm in the camp that Clubhouse isn't necessarily dead. It's just irrelevant. You know, like it's just past its prime. It's kind of like, you know, when an NFL player retires, you know, like, you know, they struggle to find relevance. You know, like one or two of them will get broadcasting gigs, a few more might go into coaching, but for the most part, people just go home and they're no longer an athlete and they just get fat. And I think that's what happens.
Shark, Roger.
Yeah. Jump in the shark is a good way to look at it. Although I think I would re-examine the whole jump in the shark thing. People say that Happy Days went downhill because of Fonzie, you know, on water skis jumping over the shark. But I would submit that when Richie Cunningham left, Ron Howard left the show, that show went to hell, and the jump in the shark episode was not the worst Happy Days episode. I don't know if you guys remember, but Mork from Mork, Robin Williams, appeared in their town and showed up at Arnold's place. So I would say that was the moment when that show was over. And I also think that a better comparison of when a show is over, rather than the Fonzie jump at the shark, would be when Cousin Oliver joined the cast of the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, man. I love your reference. Your references. That's crazy that you remember that. I didn't even know that Mark showed up over at the Happy Days. I had no idea. That's interesting. But yeah, you know, like, I'm cool with Clubhouse and its you know, current iteration. Like, I'm cool with the couple of rooms that actually, you know, do what they did. You don't need huge spaces. Like, some of the best conversations I've had in Clubhouse might have been 3 or 4 or 5 people in it. Like, you know, there's some people that they view their importance or the importance of a room by its ability to draw a crowd, and I don't necessarily, you know, agree. I think the biggest thing that benefited Clubhouse early on was the pandemic, obviously. You know, right place, right time. And, you know, there's people just would stay on this app for days at a time, just nonstop. But, like, there's certain spaces that it's like a virtual Cheers. Like, you know, you go there, it's all like virtual family. Like, you know, you pull up your chair, you talk shit about the current events, and then you have some people that just bang in the chat. That's all they do.
Anthony, let me engage with you on this, because you said something really important, and I want to admit to something. You were talking about big rooms not really being, you know, the high quality. And I could say this, like, as I look at this this stage, Mike Imtronic has ran some of the biggest rooms that this app has ever had consistent. Peak Healthy Debates, we used to get 1,000, 1,500 people in that room at peak, and Preservation also would do those numbers on a consistent basis. That's back when you had the numbers to support that. And I will say that when they start piling in, there's a feeling as a moderator where you start thinking like, oh man, the room's popping. And then what you do is you optimize for the size of the room. And as a moderator, I think that when we were optimizing for size of the room, the quality wasn't as good. And I think over time you start recognizing that, like, what are we doing here? And then you start making some pivots. And I think that Imtronic would probably agree with me on this, is that if you stay true to the topic and just have a format, whatever it might be, you might have popcorn style, you might go, you know, PTR order, just even these terms, right, that we use. If you have a culture in your room that you stay true to, you'll find an audience that belongs there, and then you'll find the people that really don't fit that culture. And I would just say that, to your point, a big room is not the measurement. The quality of the conversation is the measurement, and if that leads to a big room, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And the way that the rooms used to get big was twofold. One of them was if you were saying zany shit, or if there was an argument, people would ping their friends. That was one of the things. The other thing they used to have people that had a gazillion followers. So if back in Healthy Debates, if Eric Weinstein thought the conversation was interesting and he decided to join the stage, boom, instantly 800 people would join the room the moment he starts speaking, because it was a signal to everybody. That didn't necessarily mean it was the best room. In fact, oftentimes the conversation was better before Eric Weinstein jumped into it. And so I would say, moving forward, we as moderators, I would submit, don't try to optimize for size of the room. Try to optimize for the quality of.
Absolutely couldn't agree more on that.
I really
Yeah, you got it.
feel like, thank you. I appreciate it, man. To be honest with you, I feel like you shouldn't have more than 3 moderators in a room at a time. I think it creates a culture of bullying, and it really deters from the conversation the more moderators you have in the room. I think when I think about anything that I've ever seen in real life where there was a moderator involved, like a presidential debate or some type of debate, you never see 8 or 9 moderators in anything in real life. It just doesn't make sense to me why you would have 9 people on stage that are moderate, and it takes away from the good conversation that could be had if you weren't playing personality games.
Well, Jamal, you're making a good point. There was rooms on this app, and I don't need to call them out by name, but you guys would know, where their shtick was like, we'll mod everybody, and then by handing out these participation trophies as a social currency, the people would then, they would be more likely to ping people, because it's like, oh, look at me, I'm in a big room and I've got the green bean. And I will say, I've kind of reverted back to, like, because I just don't care about the size of the room anymore. I'll mod people because I like them. That's not the best way to do it. I will say that the highest quality rooms ever that I've personally ran, and I'm not saying that I run the highest quality of rooms. The people that I admire would be people like Ned, if you guys remember him. I thought his rooms were amazing. I think Lou Fax's rooms are amazing. But I personally, when I would run my best room, is when I was a solo mod. That way, if somebody got moved down, they knew that I did it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is a key point of having but then there's another piece to it that makes a room good, and that is a moderator kind of pulling his hands and letting conversation flow. A lot of times when you have the 1 or 2 moderators and they're micromanaging the conversation, that fucks up conversation too. I think there is another good mod who I kind of found it very interesting how he monetized Clubhouse, and that is DeHome. I think that young guy understood the monetization of it, and I thought that was very interesting, the way that he kind of, I think he said he got it from Dr. I forget his name, but yeah, I think that
I got a different opinion on the monetization. Look, I'm a capitalist, and if you want to make your money that way, that's fine. But I would also argue that, trying to make money off the broke asses that are sitting around on Clubhouse is probably not the best strategy in life. I would say that utilize this for entertainment. If you do find a way to make money on it, that's cool. If that's your thing. For me, I think it's gay as fuck if somebody's got a Cash App in their bio. I think it's gay as fuck if they think that you need to tip them for being there. Look, if you don't want to participate in the conversation, like the idea, the audacity of people thinking that opening a room makes them a content creator. This app doesn't have content creators. We have facilitators of conversation.
But when you are able to leverage the thought of people not liking another person on stage, that I thought was genius. Well, whereas I don't like you, and because I don't like Anthony, I'll pay $10 just so he won't be on the stage with me. That was genius, and I think that part of it, I really haven't seen anybody really monetize it like that. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So that's all I have to say about it. But I don't mind where we're at right now with Clubhouse. I think that the conversations and the people's mindset needs to kind of expand a little bit. I'll land it right there.
I think landing the plane is the best part of Clubhouse.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on the title.
Was the person that came up with the saying, "You're in the Matrix," which yes, it's the most disingenuous. Look, people make some dumb claims, but that guy, like, if you have no value to add to a conversation, then you lie in your bio. And so
if that's the case, Shake came up with the goo, or did somebody else come up with the goo?
Yeah, the terms on this fucking app are hilarious. But we were talking about before you're in the Matrix in early days of Clubhouse. The saying was, and it came from the black rooms. They would say you're in the pipes. That was the saying that before you're in the Matrix. However, you're in the Matrix took off is pretty cool. But when you're in the Matrix became popular, Mark Days wasn't even on this app. Like, that guy's just he's just a complete liar. And if you want to talk about frauds, I don't know if you guys remember a guy by the name of Travis Believes. Travis Believes was one of the dumbest, fucking fakest people ever on this app. In his bio, it said, "Do you want 250,000 social media followers? Click here, blah, 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 blah." So I started clicking around. I went to all of his social media accounts. Combined, he didn't have even 50,000 followers. This guy's going to help you get 250,000, but he doesn't even have 50. That was the fakest fucking dude ever on this app.
That's funny. The other thing is, all of us here that ran rooms and invited people on stage saved countless lives because we were able to identify a smoke detector that needed a battery replacement. So I feel really, really good about that. Made me feel like I did something positive.
Can I just give 3 quick anecdotes about my experience with Clubhouse?
Please do.
One is that I think I am the most kicked person of all time in Clubhouse history. I've been kicked from more rooms than anybody else. 2, I've had more Clubhouse accounts, profiles, than anybody else on this app. And 3, I think the anonymous feature on this app, I could have played a big role, or I did play a big role in the developers and the managers, because they probably have received hundreds, if not thousands, of complaints with regards to my activity on this app, listening and recording people making really asinine, stupid, low IQ comments, not based on intelligence or science, but purely based on horrific political positions and propaganda distribution. So, if
Hey, American Party, how many accounts do you think I was responsible for having removed from the app of yours?
maybe like 3, 4, 5, something like that.
I remember you had a big one that you had changed to my Roger Mayhem name, and I remember the day that got clipped. That had to be a little upsetting because that was the one that you had the most followers on.
At the moment, it's upsetting because it's frustrating, but it's also a great lesson in letting go because you realize and you question what you're doing on this app. Why am I listening so much, and why am I speaking so much? And what can I do differently to optimize my life? So, but honestly, it is a fantastic app, and with Microsoft reaching a new $4 trillion market cap, Meta at such a high market cap now, highest in human history, like there's a good chance that this silly little app will get, gobbled up in an acquisition. But the people gobbling it probably have no idea just how rotten it is to the core.
Do you guys remember the $4 billion valuation that they had in mid 2021?
Yeah, if they stupidly thought they were going to get more of, so never took.
Well, they never got an offer. Getting a valuation doesn't mean you got an offer. So,
I thought, yeah. Okay.
well, I think people mistakenly said that because there was a valuation, that somehow that equates to an offer. And by the way, that valuation was made by a worker at Andreessen Horowitz, which was one of the early investors in this. It very well could have been them just putting a valuation on this to draw attention to it, and with no real assessment of the value at all. Because if that would have came from an independent third-party source, I would have said like, wow, $4 billion, that's amazing. How do you calculate that? But because it came from Andreessen Horowitz, who led the financial investing of this app, I think you do have to kind of take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Momo says the data on that eval was based on Clubhouse with celebrities on Clubhouse still. I think that would have led, if they would have looked at the celebrity experience on here, that would have led to a very low valuation because when the celebrities were on here, they didn't fare very well. I mean, go ask Kevin Hart how he feels about Clubhouse.
Kevin Hart got ridiculed in Clubhouse. Are you kidding? That is hilarious. That's like the funniest thing I've heard all day.
When a comedian gets packed up by normies that are just in a room shooting the shit, that's when you realize the power of Clubhouse. These rooms right here, it democratizes, your ability to join a conversation. Comedians, when they're on a stage and the light is on them and they have the microphone, they're really good at handling hecklers. But when they don't have the microphone exclusively and they don't have the light shined on them exclusively, all of a sudden they become very human. And it's amazing that the people in a room, of average or below average intelligence, rip that guy to shreds, and he's never come back.
I have some Amber Rose recordings that did pretty well from this app, and if you listen to what Amber Rose says, not only is it insanely stupid, but it's racist and it's funny. But the Amber Rose recordings that I have and the shit that she would say was like cringe and incredibly stupid, but still fun nonetheless. And then, sure enough, you see her in the Trump election campaign with her big forehead tattoo, and Amber Rose is endorsing Trump. It's a small world.
Do you guys remember Taylor Lorenz? Anybody remember when Taylor was on this app? No. Okay, so Taylor Lorenz wrote, and I'll pin the article. It was in the New York Times. That this tiny app, is dangerous because it has unfettered conversations. That led to the creation of one of the better houses that this app's ever had, called Unfettered. And imagine complaining and writing an article that it's dangerous to allow people to have an unfettered conversation. Think about what that implies. It's just amazing. I'll post the article so you guys can check it out.
Yeah, please do. Well, I mean, I was called a mass others that I know because of, we would do days and days and days of just advocacy for writing exemptions to the vaccine. You provide them with the verbiage, everything that they needed, affidavits to require their employers to sign, put their HR directors on notice, things like that. Yeah, that scared people.
And Michael, one point, I don't know if you got a chance, I texted you, I don't know if you got a chance to bring up the point. People talk about the U.S. being racist. I think the difference between the U.S., because I'm one of the people like Andy, I've had the ability to travel all over the world. I think the difference between the U.S. and other countries is, do we have issues? I think everybody's got issues. When you've got as many people, in countries, you're going to have issues that you've got. I think the main thing is that our ability to have open speech is something that we just don't understand that in other countries is not always there. Having traveled to other countries, including ones that are very locked down, people want to talk, and you'll find that the majority of the people outside of the controlling entities in that country want the same thing we want. Everybody wants the same thing. I mean, they want to just be able to live their life, have their children grow up healthy and happy, and have a path forward for success. It's amazing when you see that. But when you come to the U.S. and you find, there's this discord. Well, the discord's there because we can talk openly. And you look at some of the discord nowadays, it can be very minor stuff that creates the discord. Where I think you need long term. I think we're in such a great position that we're now arguing over smaller things and not should people be allowed to be in shackles, right? I mean, we're beyond, I think, some of those now. Does some of that still occur, especially when we're talking about things that with the kid networks and things that we've gone after? Totally understand that, but we're now open enough that I think enough people are trying to resolve those problems that I don't think you're going to see as much of the 50-50 divide. I think the divides are a lot less minor. I don't know if I ramble too much or if that makes sense.
No, I think we're more divided than ever because of social media and government feeds divisiveness. But what you said is so important. There's no First Amendment in Canada. I mean, podcasters and people broadcasting have been taken down by misgendering someone. And we forget what we have.
Well, David, look at people getting arrested.
Hold on, real quick, Rob, real quick. The term misgendering somebody, like calling them by the gender in which they were born, is now a crime, and then we call that misgendering. Rob, go ahead.
I was just going to say, look at the people in the UK. They put something up that UK, the social media police don't like. They'll come and arrest you now. And it could be something as simple as, I don't agree with the vaccines. I think the vaccines are dangerous. Boom, they can come and take you and put you in jail.
Well, doctors were silenced, during COVID too. The ones that didn't agree.
Well, if you bring up COVID-19 vaccine as a conspiracy theory or anything controversial or critical of it, you are labeled a conspiracy theorist immediately by everybody on this app still. So to me, that is extremely frustrating.
You couldn't say that on Facebook.
So I'm a YouTube publisher and I had to undergo medical misinformation policy training. Not only do they inform you about the COVID-19 vaccines, but they press you on Plan B. You're not allowed to talk about mifepristone.
I love victory. Fuck America.
Anyways, my point is the merger between big tech and platforms and big pharma, big medicine, big insurance. It's there. You can't be critical of medical information, but the fact is that Fauci, Bill Gates, and a dozen other people, I mean, they are really complicit, in my opinion, in pushing out bad science, fake news, misinformation, and has created disastrous health outcomes for millions and millions of people.
What pisses me off when we start to go back and look at the pandemic, what really truly pisses me off to the extent, and I'm guilty of it, so everybody in this room, everybody in the United States is guilty of it, and pretty much around the globe, if you're going to cite your moral, stance there. The fact that we allowed the United States government to infringe on your religious freedoms, Many of you belong to a faith. Many of you are very religious. You go into rooms and say people like me are going to hell, and you say even some of like the idiot last night. We need a
Well,
Christian.
Brad, that might be true, by the respectful.
Yeah, probably. I'll bring marshmallows. We'll have s'mores and bourbon. But the whole idea that we allowed this infringement, and then we watched it on CNN. We watched a demographic get targeted by police by a New York City mayor, our biggest and most prominent and powerful city in our entire country. We watched them target Jewish religious event, and we sat back. We watched ministers get arrested, fined, shut down. We watched small businesses, our friends who had stores that were running. We watched them in gyms. We watched them get shut down and lose their incomes and still haven't recovered. We watched people lose their homes because they were told they weren't essential and they couldn't work and they couldn't be a product of society, which is also a whole separate argument. And then furthermore, we interred elderly people who were in need of care, and we threw infected people into the rooms with them, and we gave a bailout to these care facilities. And we never held governors who granted this. We never held the mismanagement, and we've never once, from Fauci on down, took any of these policies and said, hold the fuck on. And we've never put anyone in there. Gretchen Whitmer, she didn't go and face any kind of prosecution. She didn't receive anything. Several thousand died under her care, under her watch, and she didn't advocate for that. And Trump is guilty of this. He had a DOJ. He could have went and said, hey, you can't imprison elderly people for being sick. You can't deny them their families. Families couldn't come collect their grandparents and their mothers and fathers. And we allowed this, particularly across 5 fucking states. This wasn't insignificant. And no one has ever said that we won't do it again. And we're all guilty of it because the government went and said, fuck your Constitution, and showed that they had not only the capability, the propaganda, but the mindset to go ahead that your freedom of speech, the freedoms that everybody expresses here, your human rights, that they could go ahead and just remove that, and they would face no consequences. And then you have people like the progressive tards that want to empower and embolden more government, and then you have the fucking Christian wannabe Trump supporter nationalists that want more federal power, and nobody's learned their lesson from this pandemic. And that's what kills me the most about this. Aside from the pharmaceutical thing, that's a whole separate topic, but we still haven't held our government accountable for the actions they took.
Brad, in my state, you had no way of not taking the vaccine if you were a government employee, not through religious reasons, not for any reasons. They fired so many competent people. And even if they were willing to take a test every week to prove they were healthy, there was no way that they could make the government happy. And one woman who was an excellent employee, who trained others, who worked 60, 70 hours a week on a 911 call board, finally, I mean, she was a single mother. She lost her job because she wouldn't take the vaccine. She had to move out of state. And she won a major lawsuit because of that here, and there's more coming.
So it's like a prime case in point. We lost, one person was killed on the day of Jan 6 on the quote, the revolution, the domestic terrorist that people want to highlight. Her name was Ashley Babbitt. She was a veteran. She served this country honorably. She had a pool business. She was struggling, but she was succeeding prior to the pandemic. Then COVID shut down her ability to have her personal business. She lost money. She was struggling financially. She was having to be dependent on family members, and they were trying to bridge the gap. She didn't have everything afforded. VA services were cut for her. So this meant she could go to appointments at regular because, fuck it. If you had any other condition outside of COVID, don't call your fucking doctor because he wasn't going to answer because there was enough money coming from the federal government to offset all that shit, and they shut down all the care there. And then she goes and gets shot at the Capitol building, and people to this day will still vilify her and say that she deserved what she got when she went there to protest mainly because she wanted Trump to end the pandemic. She thought Trump would be the best chance because Biden in his campaign said, we're going to continue these measures until we've eradicated the pandemic, until we've destroyed this disease. And she financially couldn't take it. And she became a strong supporter of Trump, whether right or wrong or whether you believe in it. But she was the one that was killed. It wasn't the officers. Not a single fucking officer died that day as a result of that. Some did receive injuries, not discounting that. But at the end of the day, only one person was killed, and her name was Ashley Babbitt. And to this day, that woman still is not afforded any kind of remembrance. She is still vilified, and people just dusted her off, even though she was the one that died. I'm not saying she's a hero, but at least she deserved to be recognized that she was a direct result of what this government's policies were at that time. And what we failed to recognize is that we as a nation killed her. We allowed that to happen to one of our Americans to the point where she felt she had no choice but to go protest at that place. And to be further frank, she wasn't even the one trying to actually do any harm to the officers. She was actually there trying to help. She was trying to block things. That's what many of the people around her stated. And we never even held the Capitol Police who fired the shot, the only shot fired that day. The only guy to discharge his weapon. Nothing happened. He was held as a hero. He was extolled. He was given fucking money. And we still to this day will not acknowledge that. And we face accountability as Americans. We let our kids down because we allowed the government to be able to seize that power. And if you think they won't in the future, they will again.
I emphasize again, it is free to join my community. The stocks I share are also free. The techniques and strategy.
We were afraid that day.
I had a question. Basically, like, I don't feel like telling my story again because I did so many times in the past. Probably because then I had lethalist, is that a word? Most lethal shot. McCullough figured out. I didn't report because I found out that as soon as you do that in the Bayers, the government can go in and then go into your medical records. Not that I don't care, I just don't want that. And then there's plenty of other people doing it. And all of mine were legit. It happened one day, months and months out, because the more fit you were, the longer it took to set in. And then they figured this out with sisters and twins and stuff, and then the less like in shape they would get sick or maybe die faster. And one day I woke up not looked like there was another person growing on me, and I didn't have a head because you couldn't lift it. And I went to my PCP. And
what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm trying to say, ask American if that is still in the chat that he put. The coronavirus aid relief economics, is that still going for people that had legitimate illnesses from the poison put in them? That's what I'm talking. I did it for a job.
I don't know what the fuck's happening here. Kima, what happened?
I just heard a lot of words. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Ooga booga booga. That's all I heard.
Alright, we're going to do an interesting thought experiment here. I'm going to do something I would never normally do. Let's see, we're going to mod Alyssa because she sounds completely sane. And we'll go ahead and do something I don't think I've ever done. We're going to go ahead and mod American Party. Alright, let's see. Let's see where this goes.
In the
can I say hello
Roger, and also say hello to Mr. Brad. Brad, I would never share the things that I've heard people talk about you. I respect you. Thank you for your service, and also thank you for acknowledging Ashley Babbitt. I really think that, like you said, we as Americans sometimes do not realize how we redress our government is extremely important. I call it a redress. We don't know what it looks like because most of us never experienced it. And J6 was us redressing the government. And unfortunately, because we have commies in government, domestic terrorists in government, they have taken over and done a very good job of brainwashing our children and the American people for the last 40 years. So that's one of the reasons why they got away with what they got away with. You got people who are complicit. They don't know what self-government is, but they sure do know what government is. And everything government's touched, Brad, and you know this, they have ruined it. Roger said this the other day. If you think the government's there for you, think again. The government's our problem, guys. The bigger the government...
You know the famous quote, government doesn't solve problems, it subsidizes them.
Exactly, Roger. And remember this, everyone. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. The bigger the citizen, the smaller the government. Take back your own personal self-government and stop allowing people within your world who do not live in your home to control your life. Thanks, Brad, again, for saluting the only person that actually died on behalf of the American people, Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah, let's not forget Michael Byrd, the murderer who decided to blow her fucking head off as she was trying to, it's total murder. I don't know if anybody here has seen the video, but, police seem to get immunity and there's no accountability, especially this guy. I posted the link to his interview, where he described how terrified he was. If anybody saw the video, you'll know that this guy is an abominable human being.
Hey, Roger, what made or makes Clubhouse great? People like you, people like Brad, people who come and just share who they are as individuals. If I met you guys in person, I would respect you guys just for being whatever principles you guys stand on, you stand on them. And I think that a lot of people, unfortunately, don't do that today. They don't stand for anything. They have zero principles. What's on the inside of us as Americans? Like I tell, especially, like I said, I lost my black card, guys. But Brad said the other day, I tell foundational black Americans, quote unquote, that America already has a foundation. We should adhere to our three documents, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and Declaration of Independence. Limited government. No one owes anybody anything. We are not a perfect union. We're trying to become a more perfect union.
I don't know if you heard last night, but we got an interesting discussion from Bima, who is an anarchist, but she failed to really describe what her new government and new, simulation or situation would look like. So when you say we need limited government, and the bigger the person, the smaller the government, or the larger the people, the smaller the government, which is acting as a parasite. And we are the host. I mean, we want to diminish the size of this parasitic infection, which is sucking we, the people, dry. So, Edward, if you were, the president or the king of America, what would you do for we, the people?
First, I would tell the we, the people, that they're responsible for the outcome of their own lives. And obviously, if we go back to community, I would let them know that whatever they need is in their local community, what they need locally. They have the ability to elect their local officials that represent them, and they can hold them accountable. Accountability is important, guys, and I don't know what's happened in the United States. We hold zero people accountable. Here in California, they let you, well, thank God we passed Assembly Bill 36, where you can no longer just walk in the store and take up to $995, and they call it a misdemeanor. They don't realize these people who own these supermarkets here because it's just no boundaries. So it's pretty sad. So as king of my own life, as king of my own world, I would tell people, be responsible for your own behavior. And if someone in America wants to reach out and help you when you make a morally bad decision or you fall or you lose your job, let's do that locally. Let's help each other locally. And let's get the government out of our pocket. That's my thought there, America.
And also, you have more power as an individual than you actually think. I mean, it takes one clot to cause a heart attack, just one little anomaly. It takes time and it takes a lot of effort. It's like having a second job, but it can be done.
American, do you have a reference where we can go back and listen to Bima's defense of anarchy? Is that living somewhere on the interwebs, maybe YouTube?
Yeah, I've live streamed it all. It's on my YouTubes.
Okay, I'm gonna go find that. And edit it down to her lecture on anarchy. It's amazing.
See, the problem.
I love America. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
I was going to say the problem with people trying to describe a new government or a new arrangement or situation, it's just somebody using their imagination and making fantastical ideas. It's just not based in reality. So to me, enlightenment or being in the now and being in, I guess, the objective world versus the subjective world or the material world is the real world. And unfortunately, because our brains are so powerful, when we have communication and conversation, people waste a lot of time on using their brain in a way which is not really making an impact whatsoever. So it's a little bit like what our government does. The IRS, has 800 plus offices around this country. These are shakedown offices for the American people. These are not innovation centers or incubators or entrepreneurial education facilities. These are shakedown offices. These are parasitic facilities that shake down 18-year-old female Uber drivers. They have no money. These are shakedown facilities. So what I'm trying to say is that we, the American people, have to wake up and recognize a parasite when you can properly identify it and know it doesn't do any good for us. We have to reject it and, diagnose it and treat it. And the best way to do that is really personal responsibility, but being social and being political. And this app, with regards to COVID-19, was just that. This was a response room, or this was a response platform to the mass vaccination and destruction of our genetic material and threatening us with loss of life. I worked at the Treasury Department. I was repeatedly warned, if you don't get vaxxed, your position and your livelihood will be terminated. I would love to see those people held accountable for threatening me with loss of livelihood. But I resisted, and I wrote a religious exemption letter, and eventually, Trump was able to push it out, but not till much later. So the medical tyranny that we have lived in is a censorship tyranny. It is a platform, deplatforming tyranny. You, as an American, your rights to freedom of speech were absolutely and completely restricted. The censorship of your thoughts and your voice, that means you can't even have the thought if you can't have the voice. So it is slavery. It's not liberty. It's not freedom we've been living under. And I thank God Donald Trump won.
More than. Keep going. I was going to say it's going to be more and more censored, where they can find you on your phone. They can find you through just any sort of EMF device anywhere that's on you. And I couldn't write them down, but I got half of them, and they're the largest corporations that are already working under this tyranny, this company. I won't say CBS, Target, Apple, NBC, Shell, and McDonald's, and just say I know that they aren't going to be happy. They won't be happy if they find people that are against their plan. But they don't know what to say what they'll do to them.
I mean, private businesses can't do much other than not give you their goods, or you like use their marketing to like say bad shit about you. The thing people will end up needing to do is classically American. They will need to sue for their rights, and the best way to probably do that would be to recruit somebody who could pay to fund a lawsuit. Technically, it's called lawsuit shopping, but that's how you get the questions answered. You put them before the court, and the court either goes, yeah, you're right about that, or no, you're totally bullshit about that.
Marshall, the only politicians have told me the only people they're afraid of is lawyers. You're right.
I mean, I've had politicians tell me they were afraid of other stuff, but I mean, more like, I feel your point.
I don't think you do, but I don't want to make anyone think I'm more weird than I already are.
Trust me, you're among friends. I'm weird too.
Let me have a little fun here. It's gonna get worse, guys. Especially when they're hyping up this celestial body that's coming into our universe. It's gonna slingshot around Mars in November. That's when it's gonna get interesting.
How does a solar body shooting by Mars affect us? Other than
they've all Main Street stuff I don't follow has already hyped up this fear that this thing that is moving is not an asteroid. It is some controlled thing 7 kilometers wide. It doesn't move like an asteroid. And they're waiting to see when it gets around Mars if it follows the orbital plane of Mars. I'm trying not to be too scientific because I'm not scientific. And
so people are speculating.
Correct. So they're hyping up that it's hostile beings that are going to invade.
Does it have a?
Have any of those people done a public information request for NASA star charts, which they're allowed to get?
Well, hold on. Right now, what they're saying, from what I'm reading, is that here's this thing that's heading this way, that's normal, but then there's this thing following it that they can't put their finger on. And so how they're going to weaponize this, I don't know, but the closer it gets, the better view we'll get of it, and the harder it's going to be for them to justify the scare tactics. That won't stop them from trying, though.
Is there a price tag on it? Is there a $37 trillion price tag on it? And is the trailing object the American people?
Better question, is there a relative of theirs that there's things that live on it have already fallen and been stopped?
You know what would be wild is what if this was what the Hale-Bopp people were waiting for, and they were just wrong about the timing?
There you go. Great point. It's just too convenient and too mainstream that's going on. And a Harvard professor says they're hostile. There's a good chance that they're hostile.
If you can't even see the damn thing, how do you know it's hostile?
They can see it.
They can see the
How does being able to see an object make an object hostile?
Dude, I agree with you. The tail is not...
Astrophysicist.
The tail is forward-facing, not in the rear like every other comet or asteroid.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean the damn thing's hostile.
I know. Exactly. Yes, that's the hype that I'm talking about. That they're going to somehow
Listen,
stereotypes and
your local
follow.
congressman, your local senator is more of a danger to your personal life and your future children's livelihood than an astral object in outer space. It's your senators and your congresspeople and the Federal Reserve that pose the biggest threat to your future liberty and your liberty right now.
American, your city council and your governor affects your life more on a daily basis than any of that shit.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, well, in the chat, I put links to the HEROES Act and the CARES Act. That was over $5.5 trillion in debt created by senators and congresspeople. What was the ROI on that? Do you ever hear a forensic accounting or a cost benefits analysis of former acts and all the trillions of dollars in spending? No, you just give it away. You give it to your lobbyist friends on K Street for Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, Google, every major corporation, Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, AstraZeneca. Every single major corporation made out great, and you got a $1,200 stimulus check that they took back from you a couple of years later. So I again tell you, your local Congress and your local senator poses a bigger threat to your liberty and well-being now and in the future than an astral object, which is a clickbait fucking article, people. Wake the fuck up, my fellow Americans.
Yeah, what we spend a year is like far more important than an asteroid that has a weird tail. Going to the moon's probably more important than worrying about an asteroid with a weird tail. Oh, and David's also right. Your mayor, city councilman, county commissioners, they affect your life much more on a daily basis than do the president, the Congress, or the Senate.
I don't know what to tell you, but your Congress and your senator creates the debt with the Federal Reserve, and your local governor or your local mayor, they are the parasites on the bigger parasites, the little fleas on the bigger fleas. So when you sit here and say, "Oh, it's just your local politics you need to be worried about," that's not true. It's your congressperson and your senator. That's what Marshall and you just said. Am I mistaken?
No, we didn't say only. We are saying on a daily basis, the guy who changes the rules to run my business, the guy who makes the traffic laws, the guy who decides how my state runs and what new taxes they're going to enact, affect my life on a daily basis more than anything else. On a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly non-controversial statement. The government
Breaking up, Marshall.
The government you have the most effect on.
And when 25% of the people only vote in those elections, what do you expect? People need to take back their government, and they don't.
What I love is that I should be applauded for what I'm saying. Instead, I'm shut down every single time I bring up this issue or any other issue. Is it a me problem or is it a you problem?
We all live in a video and in the now, and our life is a constant virtual life.
It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it.
Oh, it's how I'm saying it. You don't like how I say it, but you enjoy what I'm saying. Got it. Thank you very little.
It's not about enjoying. You do have a
Got it.
point.
Thank you very little.
And it is very valuable.
Who posted that?
So, yay, but you are also speaking in a condescending tone that is annoying after about 30 seconds.
I'm not worried about the condescending tone. I'm worried about the level of government. My point and David's point is the government you can affect most is the one that's going to have the most effect on your life. Don't get me wrong, Edmund. Congress, in the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill, they affected just about every state in the nation with their air traffic control system, for example, because they're going to update it. I'm not saying Congress can't affect you. I'm saying most people in their daily lives are far more likely to run into their local or state government rather than their federal government. Their federal government is more ethereal. It's more in the sky kind of thing. Your local government is very much in your face. So you are right in that you do need to contact your congressman and you do need to, try to get them back in on a leash. But you're wrong that the area where you have the most impact is not the area where you have the most impact. The area you have the most impact is your school board and local commissioner and local mayor races. That allows you in particular, because the commission does things like set tax rates, right? Like that, the tax rate the city raises is going to directly affect your bottom line.
So Marshall, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mr. Edward. How are you?
That is the best day of my life. Thanks for asking. So could you give some practical, I like to know where every state, everyone currently is, and give some practical, you and David talked about the local area. What are some of the things that people can currently do right now in order to affect their local community, and how many of us are currently involved in our local government to any extent?
What I would say would be one thing that you could do, and this is just the summer, so it'll be good to be sometimes take times off. Go to your city commission meeting. Go to a county committee mission meeting. You're gonna have school in the next month and a half or so in Texas. Go to your beginning school board meetings so you know what they're going to be covering for the year. Get involved in organizations like the Rotary Club and Toastmasters that can plug you into civic service organizations. Those are things I would do. The Rotary Club, while not explicitly political, it plugs you into civil service. And civil service is very important for affecting your government. You don't just want to be an activist about it. You want to be somebody that your local government people see. Somebody once said to me, why should the government care about you if you don't care about the government? And that means knowing what people's names are, knowing what their jobs are. You don't have to
restart this live.
memorize a script, but those things are generally good ideas to get involved.
And also,
if you have a child, because their plan is to continue over age since 1902.
you have agencies in your local neighborhood. Look, it sounds stupid, but you go to your form a community council of your neighborhood. Allow any citizen who's genuine to come in there, voice their complaint. Now you have access to your city councilman. As a group, you have more of a voice than you would just writing a letter from your house. And you can find out what funds are available that can be directed to your neighborhood to solve problems, to build sidewalks, to correct whatever's going on in your neighborhood. And that way, on a small level, you're getting things done for people who need help locally. And then in an election year in my city, when there's candidates and out for review, they allow public speaking. So you can go to those meetings and raise issues personally yourself and get them on record. And newspapers, social media outlets, they need to publish stuff. You can call them with information. You can give them information in a way that they can write an article or an editorial and actually get your information out there. And I did all those things and we've made changes.
A couple of other things that should go without
Well,
saying.
hold on real quick. Before you go to your Chamber of Commerce or your Rotary Club or a school board meeting, city council meeting, you should understand one thing. There's already a culture and a consensus amongst the people that go there regularly. If you show up on day one without a plan and you're just going to show up and be the contrarian, you're not going to win anyone over. What I would argue, the best thing to do is to go ease in, meet the people. Don't tell them much about you in the beginning. Try to learn about them. And then go find your like-minded people that are not attending these, and you bring them with you. And then once you have, even if you had 3 people, you have 3 people that show up at these things. Now they can't
bully you as easily because you have people that can co-sign for your shit. So when you start talking about things, if somebody says something, they present something that you just know is absolute horseshit, you could say, and don't just tell them, hey, that sounds like bullshit. What you do is just go, yeah, I don't know if that's exactly true. Can you continue? And you let them continue. And then what you and your crew do is you look at each other confused, like, what is this person talking about? And then you slowly start winning over the crowd. And you figure out which people you'll never win over, and you find out the people that are just there to make friends, and those people you can win over just by being likable. If you go there and you take two personable friends with you, and you guys are the ones that are laughing and having a good time and talking about interesting shit, the people that don't really have strong opinions are going to gravitate to you, and then what you're talking about, you're going to be a bigger influence on them. If you show up alone, you're going to get chewed up, and I don't care who you are.
And you do need to do your homework.
So guys, what Roger just said, this is what we do in California. What I've done is my wife and I to do. We have California Strong Patriots. We are part of the voter ID program here in California. We're also part of Project Accountability. We're part of 1826. It's called, right now in California, there's a bunch of people that get ready to turn 18. But the first time they get the right to vote is in 2026. We want them to vote red right now because we want to flip California from blue to red. So these are the kind of things that we need to do. So everyone can get involved, but like Roger says, talk to someone locally who is, and listen to what he said, guys. Make sure you have a game plan, because you have some people who have been on these boards for years. They love their power, they love their position, but more importantly, you can go there, and a lot of them are not computer literate. They don't know how to read all of the analysis of the voting things in their community, and you could come in and just help them. And that's what my wife and I have done. We help them with letters, make sure that the voting rolls are clean and everything else. Just whatever you can do to help them. Win friends, influence people to help you solve a lot of things in your local community. And that person, when they end up going to the state house, they'll bring what happens locally to the state house. And hopefully, when they get to D.C., they're going to happen locally to the Congress or to the Senate. So some things that we're trying to change here locally.
I couldn't agree more. I think both you and Roger have hit nails on the head. I just want to repeat something you shouldn't say. Don't ever get up in front of a group of people, school board, city council, and go, I pay your salary. Number one, it just comes off as kind of bratty. Number two, it doesn't help win anybody over. And number three, you're not the first person who has ever said that to them. And saying that makes it less likely that you'll win friends and influence people.
Absolutely, Marshall. If you bring solution, if you're going to criticize, you need to bring solutions. But I was talking to the mayor at one of those meetings, and he had gaslit the two people in front of me in line. And I looked at him, and I said, you've been planning this with 4,000 hours of work and 20 of your people working on it, and you're telling us it's not going to happen? Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. And the guy pivoted. I never saw a politician pivot. So I said, I want to come to your community. I want to walk the streets with you. And he did it. And we had a community meeting, and we actually, 400 of us told him exactly where he was wrong. And he thought he could just win over the community, but we were organized. And we won.
Yeah, that's what organization and a solid work ethic will get you.
Well, but it's like having a second job. I'm single. I could do this after work. I could call all these people. I could imagine if I had a family and children. Who has time for that? And that's part of the problem.
Well, David, Marshall, let me ask you a question. Do you think spending $10 billion a day is sustainable? If we're taxing $7 billion worth a day and we're borrowing $3 billion a day, do you think we could get by on spending, let's say, even $4 billion a day? What demands $7 trillion in annual spending? Why can't we get away with spending $4 trillion a year? Do we ever plan on paying back the debt, or are we just going to continually, slowly, and sometimes dramatically increase the debt?
Either party who are committed
We do have members. We have Thomas Massey. We have Rand Paul. These are patriots. We have Chip Roy. We have many Republicans who are fiscal hawks and want to cut this borrowing and the spending.
Chip Roy have turned themselves over in ways that are unhelpful. Rand Paul is the reason we have CRs in the Congress. So this is going to sound inane and weird, but follow me. The Senate has a rule about how you get bills. You go to the well of the Senate at first, and most things are done by unanimous consent in the Senate. And so you ask for unanimous consent for your bill. Well, if it has anything to do with list making of any kind, it doesn't matter whether it's like a list of cities for federal resources to be devoted to. It doesn't matter if it's like a list of names to get awards. Rand Paul says, I oppose. So you then, per Jefferson's rules, have to go down to the well of the Senate, and you have to read the bill. And so the author of the bill reads the bill. It's then asked of the Senate to give unanimous consent. Rand Paul stands up again. No. Which means that they either figure out how to have a filibuster, or the bill, whatever it is dead on arrival. It's not going to get an up or down vote. It's not going to get a vote in committee. And what that does is force senators who are parochial, which you need to be parochial for your state. House members represent different districts in the state. Senators represent their states first. And what ends up happening is, there we go. What ends up happening is you have what's called airdropping in things. So you get these big omnibus bills that are budget bills just shoved together, and you get pork in these big omnibus bills. The reason you get pork in these big omnibus bills is because of Rand Paul's unwillingness to take an up or down vote on any legislation put in the chamber. Like you are more than welcome to like Rand Paul. I think Rand Paul is the only reason we have continuing resolutions in Congress. I think he is the only reason we don't operate by regular order, aside from the fact that it's politically convenient.
The only bill I know that passes unanimously is about whether you put a comma or a period within a sentence structure. Nothing of value. No meat, no nothing, nada. Tell me one, Marshall.
Off the top of my head, I don't know off the top of my head since I was making a criticism about something entirely different. But I will tell you what my brother has told me many a time. The idea that Congress doesn't get anything done is just not true. A lot of the time they vote unanimously, both the House and the Senate. It's over the most contentious issues. They can't seem to do things. It's over economical considerations of states. They can't do things. Look, I'm not saying don't.
Marshall, here's something that's really interesting along these lines, right? You have people on this app that pretend to be really interested in politics, right? When you talk to them about, oh, okay, can you name your state congressional member, your district's congressional member? Can you name your state senators? The level of interest that they actually have in these things is quite low. This is why we talk about the celebrity wing of Congress. This is where the AOCs and the Rand Pauls, they get some attention. The Nancy Pelosi's, everybody would give them attention. The people that do the work, that really do the work, that are writing policy and arguing about this stuff, nobody even knows who the fuck they are. Like, and I would even guess that the celebrity wing, nobody's really inspecting what they're all about. And again, I don't need a show of hands, and I don't need anybody to argue that, oh, that's not true. But just hear me out and just ask yourself if this is true of you. Have you ever went and looked up your congressional representatives' voting record in Congress? Have you ever looked at what they voted yes for, what they voted no for, what they voted, responded as present or abstained? Please go look at that stuff and then get a more clear picture of who your representative is. Because I don't think, actually I know, it's less than 1% of this country that actually digs into this shit And here's the thing, if you show up and you know the rules, you're going to be able to set the agenda. So all of the people that say, well, it's out of my hand, what can I do? There's a lot that you can fucking do. If you were to influence, let's say you have influence over 10 people in your district. Doesn't sound like a lot. But if those 10 people were to write similarly worded emails or physical letters to their representative, those letters in their mind represents a multiplier of people in that district. And so you do have a lot more say than you think. You could also participate in conversation on online forums. That's less effective, but show up to these things and make yourself look bigger than you are. Here's what you do. You want to show up to a rally where your congressional members are going to speak at? Find all of your friends and family and tell them, hey, look, just come and hang out. We'll go do something fun after, whatever fun means in your world. Maybe go to the bar. But you tell them, just come with me. And then when they show up, give them all a pre-printed t-shirt that has whatever slogan that you give a shit about, and make sure that where the cameras are at, that you guys are positioned there, and you can make 8 to 10 people look like 1,000 people if you know what you're doing. And this is the way that you actually influence policy. If you think about when people talk about the Tea Party, right? When people talk about the Tea Party like they know what the fuck they're talking about. I don't know if you guys know how it got started, the rant by Santilli that led to people being inspired to say, yeah, I'm going to organize protests. One such protest happened in Seattle back in, 2009 maybe? And it was called Porculus. It was organized by somebody that I know very well, Kelly Corinder. You can look her up. She was the first person to organize a Tea Party rally. 120 people showed up. I want to repeat that. 120 people showed up. Now that's pretty good for somebody that at that time nobody knew. She was 31 years old. She wasn't super experienced. She was charismatic. But she got 120 people to show up. Now in the grand scheme of things, in a country of 350 million people, that's not a lot of people. Now, it's tough to get 120 people to show up, believe me. But that 120 people lit the fucking match, and then all of a sudden, the news couldn't put up about it. We're in 2025, and people still reference the Tea Party. Now, sadly, they reference what the Tea Party became and not what it started as. When it got hijacked by the people that were, lifers in the Republican Party, which was what it was not intended to be at all, when they started doing rallies where they had sitting politicians speaking at the rally, that's not what it was about. This was about normal folks saying, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. I want to remind you guys that one guy made a passing comment in a rant online, and an organizer in the city of Seattle got 120 people to show up, and the Tea Party movement was born. You can fucking do more than you think you can.
And we all think critical race theory no longer exists. Haha.
Thank you, Roger. I really like for people to listen to what he said. You do need to go to your voting records of your elected officials in your community. If you want, I use my Faith Vote. It gives you all of their voting records on a regular basis. I also use the Christian Coalition magazine, which gives us a great outline of how their voting records and what they voted for in the past and what they're proposing to vote for in the future. You need to be well aware of things. Unfortunately, a lot of us who claim, like Roger said, that we are politically astute or we are people who really want to help change the government, we're really not involved because we can see it clearly. We go and cast a vote, but voting is only one part of the American, called the experiment. But if we all got involved locally, really involved, we could really, really go and get some things accomplished and change a lot of these things. But because we don't have that much participation, and like when Roger starts to speak, and Roger knows this, guys, a lot of these spaces on Clubhouse and the other platform, they're only drama rooms. But when you really get down to the nitty gritty and you're talking about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers, you're not going to have a lot of people in those spaces. And the reason why is because most people think it's boring, but they don't realize that's how you save your life. You got to have information. If you don't have information, you'll be destroyed. You'll be destroyed. That's how they can take advantage of you.
So I'm looking at this Vote Smart, and I'm looking at the gentleman that I'm running against, Darren LaHood, and it's interesting. You can sort by issue, and it's incredible how many HRs they actually vote on. And so thank you for sharing that, because I'm going to create a video. I already did a open secrets video about all the corporations that he works with, but I'm going to shoot a video with regards to this Vote Smart.
Yeah, in America, if you do that specifically for your state, you're going to get a lot more traction from your videos. And the reason why is when you start focusing just on your state, like we have 58 counties here in California. So we start focusing in the counties, and now we're getting the county representatives on blast. Like Roger said, you only need 10 to 15 people in each one of these counties to show up at the meeting or just turn on their live streams. A lot of you guys don't realize every one of your cities have live streaming. You can turn your live stream and check out what's going on, and when they have eyeballs on them, it changes how they vote. So there's a lot of things that we control. We all have a smartphone. We should start using it. It helps us be more smart when it comes to real data. All of us have something that we can do, and everyone has a skill, whether you're writing a letter, whether you're doing email to the voter roll, whether you're cleaning up the voter roll, whether you knock on doors, hang door hangers. Everybody can do something. We got a lot of people voting, but not people participating.
Yeah, so I mean, I use X a lot. I don't know if anybody here uses it, but my profile is John Kitover, IL, Illinois, and it's really interesting, the merger between AI, Grok, and X as a platform itself, because you can use it to do a lot of data scraping and communication with Grok and other people that you're trying to communicate with. So follow me on Instagram, but I'm going to pin my X account. If you're not using X, I would really encourage you to start using it, because Clubhouse is a very closed and dying app. There's not a single party hat around. And I think Mojo stated earlier that it's possible they created it anonymous so people can start clipping it and distributing it, and hopefully more people will join Clownhouse. But I want to run this campaign using Clubhouse. So if I hire AI content strategists in the top 10 towns in this district that I'm running in, I want them to come to Clownhouse and talk about their economic situation, their ambitions. I want to bring real people in who are working for their campaign and use it here on this app, because this is a free conference call. So anyways, click the Instagram link above now. Text me at 312-498-0517 if you want to help the campaign, if you want to contribute $10, or if you want to follow me on X and you want to repost some content, or if you want to create some content that you want me to repost, text me at 312-498-0517. That's my direct cell, and I hope you will join the campaign to get me into Congress so we can doge Darren LaHood and these multi-trillion-dollar debt creators.
Hey, Edmund, what cities are in the district you're running for?
Rockford, Illinois, Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, Quincy. There's about 600,000 people in the district, and it's small little towns. 15,000 people, 5,000 people, 4,000 people. I mean, small little towns, and these are people who absolutely have no voice whatsoever. And so I want to amplify their voices, because I know that Darren LaHood does not really give a fuck about them, and he doesn't. He just puts out propaganda videos of him shaking police officers' hands, veterans' hands. The guy has created $20 trillion in debt in 10 years. Every year we create $2 trillion in debt. He's been in Congress 10 years. That's $20 trillion of voting for debt creation. 20 trillion. Microsoft is valued at 4 trillion. He created 5 Microsofts out of thin air. And that's not just a little problem. That is a catastrophic civilization-ending problem.
Are you near Charlevoix and Traverse City, yada yada? You know where I'm talking?
No, I don't know.
Money talks, shit walks. That's why.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the people who win elections, they are able to buy millions of dollars in Google ads, Meta ads. They have very sophisticated online ad targeting operations. They're constantly putting out content, and they have a huge team. I'm just one guy with a decentralized group of people on Clown House that used to hate me, but still probably hate me. And the fact that Marshall and David, every time you bring up a bigger issue, they always give you back the micro, which is get local, go to your local parent-teachers association. No, that's not how we fix the bigger problem. The bigger problem is in Washington, D.C., and it is your congressperson or your senator who keeps creating omnibus multi-trillion-dollar acts. This is theft and fraud against future generations, and it's huge financial giveaways and huge windfall profits for the recipients of these multi-trillion-dollar acts, let alone the amount of fraud it creates. The PPP package, that loan, was $1.8 trillion in fraud. A lot of Clown House scum on this stupid app. A lot of these people got hundreds of thousands of dollars in federal loans. And it's, the recoupment rate on all that fraud it's next to nothing. So we are the problem. These acts and all this money we create out of thin air and give away is the problem.
Yeah, America.
So hold on real quick. And I just want to say, I agree that you need to speak to the people that are spending all this money. That being said, this is where I disagree with you and where I do agree with Marshall. The local scene, what you get there is you get the small wins. You build a bench of people that believe in these issues. They start getting the small wins, but then they also build up this credibility cocktail where they can move upstream. The reason why you don't see people with ideas like yours or mine winning at the state level is because the people that win at the state level are identifiable because they were a known entity that was winning at a lower level. And so I would say that there's people like yourself that have to take the fight, to the top. But you also need people like Marshall that are going to attack it at the local level because you do need to build a bench and you need to build credibility because, unfortunately, it's not just the idea that prevails. Most people that vote, they look to see which way the wind is blowing. Most voters, they only care, this is going to sound crazy, but it's true and the data will back this up. They want to know who's going to win so they can vote for it. If it's close, and this is why we're so divided right now, is that when it's close, then people don't know who's going to win. They have plausible reason to believe that their candidate that sides with them can win. And this is where you get them, clinging more to the issues that they care about. But back in the day when it wasn't close, when Ronald Reagan was winning 49 out of 50 states, there were definitely people that were lockstep into the agenda of Ronald Reagan, and then there were a lot of people that were just caught up in the moment. They were just like, okay, we're voting for this guy, and I think the country actually operates better, believe it or not, when we do have a consensus on which direction we're supposed to go. That doesn't mean all Americans are going to agree on it, but it tends to work better when we're in agreement. Right now, those narrow margins that we see at the state level in these elections, this is what's causing the division because it's very contentious and they're fighting for every fucking inch. And this is why, because every inch is important, this is why new ideas are relevant because the parties, you notice the Republican Party created a much quote-unquote bigger tent this time. The reason they created a bigger tent is because they can't afford to alienate people that have ideas
ideas like the ideas that we've been sharing in this room.
Yeah, and on that same vein, American, you need a foundation. Like you said, you need a bench. What happens at the higher level happens first on the local level. So whatever counties in Illinois that you're going through, you got to make sure you have that bench of people, because those are the people that's going to get to change what's happening at the top. Yes, you're right. There's a lot of things that's going on, but at the same time, you got to realize that if you do not have that foundation, whatever you build is going to collapse. So you want to make sure you get that foundation. Local. And yes, what's happening in your state house and ultimately what happens in Congress and the Senate is there. So we just need to make sure that that's happening. Whatever you're doing, what I say, I'm not a person that's ever going to run. My wife wouldn't let me in the first place, and I respect her voice in my life. But one of the things I always say, people who do run, whatever you do, don't criticize the other party or the other person. Talk only about what you do, because the fuel that you get from always focus on what you're going to do, people will always respect you. The moment you get into the dirt and all of the, bashing the other person and what they're doing, they want to know solutions. And when you give people solutions, they'll support you. So it's one of the areas. There's a way to allow someone else to attack, but if you're the person running America, don't be the attack dog. Get someone else to do it, and it changes you. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have learned that here on Clown House. I would say El Normo has been great in giving me, suggestions on how to communicate with people who I can get agitated with. But I agree with you. And, I just think that the spending problem, the borrowing and the spending problem, is the fact that none of these major issues that have come up would be possible without all the borrowing and spending, particularly COVID-19. Pfizer even threw out like $30 billion worth of inventory that the government paid for. The fact of the matter is, I'm pretty much against big pharma and big health insurance. The middleman in health insurance and the amount of money they take from us every year is insane.
No, I agree. But can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a question. Where do you think all these things happen? Do you think they happen in a vacuum? See, every group needs customers. We, the people, are their customers. And if you don't inform your citizenry, we're going to miss out. We have 50 independent countries. 50 independent states here in our country. 50 independent states. We're supposed to have 348 million independent people. We don't. We have a lot of people that are drugged by government. Really drugged. I'm not talking about like big pharma. I'm talking about they believe that government is going to solve their issues and solve their problems. This is where you got to get to the local community to let them know that they're responsible for their life. That's the most important thing. And too many people don't do that. So we can talk all day about the big problems, but if you don't start attacking the people that can change it, because you need all those voters, those local people that really don't understand themselves, and they don't understand how government actually operates. And that's where you're going to really find it. And too many, what I call people politicking, don't teach governance. I try to share with people in California, you're responsible for your own life. No one's coming to your rescue. And don't expect government to govern your life. And politicking, like what Joe B's talking about, critical race theory is politics. Okay? If you don't get people involved that don't understand that, then they're going to miss out. Because you got to learn how to teach people that there's no. We know that critical race theory is being taught, but if you don't realize that you're an independent human being, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. What I believe is responsibility, not my race.
So, one thing that I think gets missed, like when independents or third parties are running, the missed opportunity is in building that infrastructure. So let's say if you have people that come to your door and say, hey, I heard what you had to say, I want to help. What can I do? Oftentimes they're met with, oh, well, I don't know. And you don't have a job for them. I would go look at what churches do. If you walk into any church in America that's well organized and you just say, oh, it's my first time here, somebody in that church is going to talk to you and figure out why you came, what it is that you need, where you're at in your life. And the moment that you hint that like you'd like to get involved in some way, they will have a job for you to do immediately. And so the important thing to remember is that if you're building a campaign or a movement, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and you need to be familiar with all of the little things. So let's say somebody comes that is probably not the type of person that you want to put on a panel speaking about issues, but they want to help. You find ways that they can help, and you tell them, hey, would you be willing to organize a sign wave where you just get people that literally all they have to do is show up at a location with signs that you've designed and then just wave the signs. Now you might say, fuck sign waves. The point is you're building an organization where you're giving people an assignment of what they can do. And then from there, you can identify what their skill set is and how else they can help. Maybe they have some administrative skills. Maybe they are a good public speaker. But you have to give them a purpose. You have to give them something to do immediately to get plugged in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, it's basically like starting a Scientology organization or a direct response marketing campaign, and you can't lose them. They're going through my funnel essentially. But I'm gonna post ads on Craigslist soon to the top 10 towns and try to recruit political activists in the government section of Craigslist and post maybe job ads in Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of little ways to try to like spam the people in these towns. I think Facebook Marketplace could be a good place to do it even. So it is about creating that network. I mean, I'm using Wix to do the website right now. It sucks. So in terms of like, campaign volunteer lead capture or voter lead capture, I have to, get all that created and put up and promote it. So it is a lot of work. It's basically like starting an online business. And, but, it's what it is. So I thank you, Roger, for maybe helping me, in the future and right now as well. And I think even like, for the, because I'm filming all of this, it is content. So, but it's like dead content, meaning that no one is even watching it. And let alone nobody in Peoria or Rockford, the top two towns, know my name. So it's a huge upward journey over till March of next year. So August, September, October, November, December. I mean, I've got basically 5 months to get 2,500 ballot signatures, and lead this campaign because the other enemy of mine is the weather. It's impossible to do any type of transportation basically January and February leading up until the primary. So all this work has to get done over 150 days. So if anybody is interested in helping me with this campaign to get into Congress, text me at 312-498-0517 or go to johnforcongress.com. I just have a little mission statement on there on that Wix website. Or follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/John Kitover. Just go to IG and type in JOHNKIT over. Add me there and message me there. And I will reply. And Clubhouse has been a 5 to 6 year journey now of really putting up close to 40,000 videos of Clubhouse, recordings and conversations, generating millions of views. And to me, it's been a fun art, comedy, and political project because I think in the back of my mind, I always knew that, creating all this content, even if I don't have a lot of followers, the guy I'm running against has equally not a lot of followers. But he does on Facebook, over 22,000 likes on his Facebook page. So he probably ran meta ads. But my point is, in terms of like establishing credibility or doing research on what people are talking about or what, political sentiment is, but also really just trying to rectify myself in terms of, what agitates me, what triggers me, what gaslights me. Can I listen to people, sling all kinds of nonsense, and still remain, calm and be cool? Like somebody said earlier, don't attack the man or the woman, attack the idea and present solutions to address people's concerns and what's happening. So I think we're in a debt spiral, and I think that we're gonna fuck around. We're fucking around, and we're gonna find out what it means to go to 40 trillion, to 50 trillion in debt, to 60 trillion in debt. It's people in 2050, 2070 that may see an extremely new set of rules that they have to abide by, because the United States of America is diminishing in its liberty and its power, and basically giving it all up to an international banking cartel, which is separate from our own government. So I think Trump is doing the right thing in his meeting with Chairman Powell, where he's showing him, a multi-billion-dollar overrun on a piece of paper. Powell looked like a clown. Trump looked like the boss. So a lot of it is about framing and, communication and transparency. And Massey and Rand Paul are calling to audit and end the Fed. I mean, Rand Paul today just said, he thinks we're in the early stages of ending the Federal Reserve. This is, I think now is the biggest pivot point in American history, because either we're going to keep running this debt up and borrowing and spending, or we are going to essentially reestablish American liberty and, freedom for we the people. I mean, because it's ours. And unfortunately, if we don't demand more and possibly be greedier, we're going to give it all away, and nobody's going to get anything. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Thank you.
Edward Lynn, I haven't seen you on this app for a long time. How you been, man? Guess Mr. Lynn is not around.
He's in the death care business.
Oh, he's at the doctor's visit. Got it.
No, I'm saying he's he runs a mortuary business. But Anthony, let me ask you, if you were the president of the United States of America, what would you do for we the people?
So what would I do? For we the people, my top priority as president would be to address the deficit. So it would be a combination of raising revenues, which, I like the idea of tariffs, believe it or not. I'm a fan. I like the idea of cutting government, huge cuts, savage cuts. I don't want like a means test for Social Security. I don't think we should just send out Social Security to everybody that paid into it. If you, did really well, tough titty, you don't get Social Security. God bless you, I would,
balance the books.
I would raise taxes on the wealthy. I wouldn't cut taxes like the big beautiful bill did. I more so would raise taxes. And, I would really look hard at government spending, a la what Doge was kind of intended to do. And I would just have to come to grips with the fact that this thing has turned into a monstrosity. So that's what I would do for the people. My legacy would be at least getting us headed in the right direction on the deficit.
Mojo, I got a question for you with regards to tariffs and imports. I don't know if you follow Peter Schiff, but my question to you is, with regards to reciprocal tariffs, or just give a hypothetical, the car import and export and manufacturing industry, if China doesn't allow us to import, whether it's financial services or auto cars we manufacture, I mean, don't you think that tit for tat or reciprocal tariffs or our group, our cartel of manufacturers, we're going to help push the Chinese in a direction that's good for our business, our businesses. So how do you essentially do reciprocal tariffs, or how do you use tariffs strategically to get our exports into countries that are rejecting our exports?
So I guess the exports thing is a conversation that I'm not an expert on. But when you think about the tools, the instrument of a tariff, and if you take Trump at his word of what it is that he's trying to, the problem he's trying to solve for, I think the best thing we could hope for is when you take somebody like, you take China, for example, where they have this aggressive plan to put a massive automobile plant right on the American border in Texas. And then immediately after the tariffs were announced, the plans of that facility went away. I think the follow-up conversation needs to be, hey, you want to avoid tariffs? Why don't you put that plant you were thinking of putting on the border, why don't you put that in Detroit? And some people will balk at that and say, wait a minute, you want to help a Chinese company sell automobiles? Well, if a Chinese company could create American jobs, I wouldn't care if they made money doing it. I think that you're either going to have to draw a hard line in the sand and say we don't want to fucking do anything with China, or we say if you want to participate in this consumer base, rather than the tariffs, a better option would be, why don't you create American jobs? Which, by the way, I think we're headed towards. There's a lot of talk that Xi is out of power soon, and the folks that are likely to take over are less chummy with Russia and absolutely more keen on repairing relationships with the West. And if this is true, it could be very, very interesting, including there's a contentious border that China and Russia share that China, as part of their 100-year plan, was to annex this land and get it back, with a weakened Russia because of the mistakes that Putin's making. If we became really friendly with China again, that could give, if they knew that they didn't have to have international condemnation, and maybe we would even condone it, you could see China just go and annex parts of Russia. And I know that might sound ridiculous to people, but you should go and read what people in China are saying about this. In fact, they're saying that now is the best time for them to do it because the Russian military is busy. And the only capability they would have to even try to stop it would be nuclear weapons. But I don't think that they would do that with China because, that would end that. So I think all of this fear-mongering around China could be coming to an end. And if it does, we may end up seeing history write the narrative that Donald Trump is the greatest president of all time because of the tensions that happened prior to him coming in, and his focus was on bringing China back, to be a good player on the international scene. And if that happens, like, the history books, unless they want to lie about it, they would have to say that that Trump is one of, if this all happens, if it plays out, Trump becomes in the argument for the greatest president of all time.
So I think that G is absolutely out. His days are without a doubt numbered. I think the people waiting in the wings are way, way, way more pro-America, America friendly than G's ever been. Luck is always a factor in the way you're remembered historically, and I do think that there is going to be an opportunity for Trump to be looked at as as shockingly as it may seem, one of the greatest presidents in history, hands down. There's so many predictions about, the tariffs, what they were going to do to the economy, that have proven thus far not to be true at all. There's so much in terms of like they don't even give him flowers on the most basic level for the stuff that he is accomplishing. You know, such as the revenues raised by tariffs. You know, if like it, hate it, I'm not a fan of the big beautiful bill. But let's be honest, he's a politician. He needed some kind of signature legislation. This was the most palatable thing that he could get through. He barely got it through. Barely. You know, like a tie break in the Senate. You know, votes in the House. This was not an easy sell. So, yeah, like, what do we want gridlock? Do we want to, you know, constantly go to the 11th hour and ask for, you know, some kind of temporary spending measures? Like, that's not effective. So, given the hand that he had, he's playing the cards the best way he knows how. And, you know, like, love it, hate it, whatever, it's thus far, it's been pretty darn effective. He's one of those people that believes that returning the money to the public as opposed to the government spending the money is preferable. He thinks that the government is super inefficient.
He hasn't done that.
So when I say that the reason why I made the argument he's done that, Roger, is by cutting taxes. That is taking money from the government's coffers and returning it to the people. So I don't think that we can debate whether or not he's cut taxes. I think that's self-evident. So I say, yes, he has done that. Are you rebutting that?
I support the tax cut, but a tax cut doesn't do what you just said. A tax cut refers to you know, giving people a break on what they need to pay. Nobody's getting a fucking refund.
I'm not suggesting that people are getting a refund. What I'm saying is tax cuts raise less revenue through taxes, and they return the money. The less revenue that's raised comes back in the form of Americans having more money in their pocket. They can now potentially, you know, do that addition to the house that they've been putting off, but now they find themselves with more, and therefore stimulating the economy, therefore raising overall revenue.
I'm not opposed to tax cuts. The problem is when you don't have spending cuts. The bigger problem that we have to address is that we have a spending issue, and the biggest mistake that Trump has made is with this fight that he's had with Elon. You have to cut more spending. If you're going to take in less money and continue to spend, in fact, spend more money, then what you're doing is actually kicking the can down the road, and you're creating a bigger problem for our kids and our grandkids. And that to me is immoral. It's certainly not sound economics, for sure. What the big beautiful bill did not help the economy. In fact, what it does is because he didn't make massive cuts, and honestly, he's just feckless when it comes to the most important thing. If you're going to get serious about cutting the deficit, what you have to do is you have to look realistically at what are the biggest expenses that we have: Social Security and Medicare. And until he gets out there and makes significant cuts to those two things, he's not serious about the economy. Those are the two things that we have to whack down.
Word for word, line for line, bar for bar, I agree with everything you just said. This is when I was asked by America, what would I do? I succinctly said the same thing you said. Absolutely, we're on the same page. You know, yeah, means cuts for Social Security, cuts, raising age, a bunch of different things to lessen the burden of Social Security.
How about this? What if we just admit that it's a Ponzi scheme, and we say that those that have paid into it for whatever, we're gonna make sure that you are made whole, but we're gonna stop the 6.25% tax, and we're going to draw down, and instead of the trust fund going broke in 2035, by 2035 there will be no new people added to Social Security. What do you think?
Well, let me add,
I
Anthony.
think it's a radical idea.
Anthony, let me interrupt you real quick and ask Mojo a question. Mojo, don't you think that doing huge cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, or the NDAA, let's say we cut spending by 40%, in 1 year. I mean, it's just imaginative, fictional thought. In the same way that young Bima yesterday, has these fantastic anarchic type of visions. Like, it's not going to happen. And what I'm saying is, like, in a way, like, if you do cut spending, dramatically and drastically, will it create the anarchy that we think it's holding back?
The answer to that is that we have three choices here. Three choices that I can identify. If you want to identify a fourth choice, that's fine. We can continue what we're doing today, and we will slowly die. We could increase spending dramatically and accelerate the doomsday scenario, or we can try to acknowledge the problem and alleviate it and dramatically cut the spending. I understand that status quo is the most likely scenario and that slow death. I'm saying that somewhere along the line, I'm hoping that a bold, innovative, charismatic leader will emerge that can give us the tough talk that we need and can let people know that, like, these are the choices. And, while everybody else has been, for electability's sake, has just said, let's continue to kick the can down the road. And then if you could just illustrate at what point in time all of this does collapse, and let people know that, look, this is going to be on your kid's lap, on your grandkid's lap, that the American experiment could end if we don't fix this. And so I think it's dire enough for us to at least fucking try. But if you're asking me, do I think it's likely that it happens? No, the answer is no. I think that there are people that are more interested in the immediate grift and the power grab that they can do now than they are about fixing and sustaining the economy of the United States of America. I'm acknowledging that it's unlikely, but I think it's important enough to try to take that puncher's chance.
So, Roger, I'll be honest with you. I think that the scenario you said as the most likely, that, kick the can down the road, is clearly, where we're headed. I don't think that we'll ever see a charismatic enough leader that's going to sell what needs to be done to the American people. It's just, I don't like, our system is structurally set up to prevent that from happening. It just won't happen. Now, there's a different problem that I think that's really coming to the fore, and it's coming really fast. I feel that the system is broken. The game is already over. It's not even, it's like we might be worried about the wrong thing. I think that we are going to have to fundamentally change the idea of America. I think we're going to have to become a socialist nation. I think that when you combine artificial intelligence and automation,
that there is no other path forward. I just don't see the amount of real jobs, labor.
Wait,
that's going to
Anthony.
be left.
Anthony, I want to interrupt you real quick. Mojo, can you maybe address what Anthony is saying? Because he thinks we're going to become a socialist nation. Can you tell him what Milton Friedman would say with regards to economic theory and philosophy and optimization and productivity? Can you maybe give him an economic response to his socialistic, perspective?
Yeah, I mean, if we head in that direction, then we lose all of the incentives to become more efficient, to do the things that would lower prices for consumers, that would invest in R&D. You would essentially erode all of the incentives that would lead to things that would allow you to stay on top. If we head down that road, what we're essentially going to say is that we're going to, instead of investing in growth, instead of trying to innovate the best products and the things that can change our future in a positive way, we are going to then, instead, we are going to waste the money by spreading it among the people. And I think what you're going to find is the inefficiency of doing that is going to just accelerate the collapse. I don't think that solves a single problem, and there's not a single example on a global scale that you can point to where people become more efficient because of these types of policies.
So, Roger, do you see another path forward? Like, given the daunting scale of artificial intelligence, do you see another way out of this scenario?
Yes, we win the AI war and win it significantly by allowing. I would deregulate the fuck out of the market and allow innovation to be the investment. And we have to win the AI and the robotics war. And when we do that, I think that there could be force multipliers of revenue that we see from that. Because one of the biggest expenses that we have is labor. There's a world in which we don't necessarily need to work because the companies would become so fucking profitable. Now, that would lead you into this conversation about, well, okay, then we'll have UBI. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe what emerges is an economy, because everything that happens, has secondary and third, impacts. And what I would say would be more realistic is that when the labor work is being performed by machines, I think that the economy is going to turn into nothing but service and entertainment. I actually can envision the world being a much better place where you have more people playing guitar, playing drums, singing, drawing, dancing, and more people wanting to consume that. And I think that entertainment and service, hospitality, is going to be how human beings are going to thrive moving forward. That's what I think.
So, Roger, I would state that there's just not enough entertainment and or service to keep people earning enough to have the economy continue the way it's been going. I think that there's a peak to how much entertainment and service you can have.
I think you missed the key. Maybe you missed the part that I didn't say out loud that I thought, but I inferred that solves for this, is that if AI and robotics make us as productive as I think it will, we won't need to tax human beings. Human beings won't need to fund the government, won't need to fund the military or infrastructure or any of those things, because the productivity that gains that we see AI and from robotics, everything will be funded, and people will be allowed to, if you had no taxation in your life, imagine the burden that's lifted, and how much more free you would be to participate in the activities that you enjoy more.
Roger, what I'm saying to you is that there won't be any taxes because there won't be anyone working, because the efficiency of the artificial intelligence and the robots, there won't be anyone earning income. So the idea of taxes, it's irrelevant. This is what I think you're missing. Like, this, people won't earn an income. There won't be labor. There won't be opportunities to differentiate yourself in a capitalistic system. And
Anthony, Mojo is presenting. Mojo is presenting the greatest possible utopian vision imaginable, and it's so imaginative. I mean, he's claiming that it solves income problems because of the productivity increase. But Mojo, don't you think that's a utopian vision you have?
No, it doesn't. It fundamentally doesn't. And before we get to utopia, let's talk dystopia. Let's talk about the dystopia. Where are people earning money from that they aren't paying taxes on? This is the part that's missing. This is very odd to me. Well, Anthony, can I ask you a question? Are you a free market person? I'm a free market person, but I'm saying to you that automation is going to kill that. Okay, but let's back up. So you say you're a free market. What and how do you currently have investments? What do you currently invest in? My primary investment is in real estate. Okay, so that's a good one, because they're not making any more real estate, right? So at one point, people are still going to need housing. That means someone still has to build it, and if the robots break down, someone has to build them. But this is my question: outside of real estate, do you know the majority of Americans who are actually earning money do not do that on a job? They do that through investments. Okay, so Edward, this is what I want. Like, succinctly, I want you to explain to me how people are going to earn money. This is, I don't like companies, stock market, revenues, price to earnings. Where are these earnings coming from? How can consumers consume if they can't earn money to consume? These are very basic things that I'm trying to understand. I know, but Anthony, I think when you say basic things, okay, what if I understand where you're coming from? You don't think that we're going to be able to produce anything. You're so private sector so public sector that you think the private sector in innovation. Roger just told you, if we go out and innovate, which has made America what it is today, the human being will always be a producer. That's not going to stop. And just because we have a tool called AI, that tool was created by us. It doesn't create itself. And regardless of what you and I think, you're wrong. It does create itself. Robots building robots. Anthony, hold on. I want you to hear yourself, because I don't know why we actually personally believe that AI is the what's the word I want to use? Roger, help me with the word. AI is what?
Okay, but will that AI?
I mean, AI,
right?
look,
all this AI
in my mind,
DMV,
it's just
for example, really efficient, right?
A larger scale of the Industrial Revolution. I mean, if you think about the Industrial Revolution, we were able to we could replace physical labor with machines, right? And now we're going to be able to replace some jobs that required thought. When we replaced the labor, the physical labor, with machines, the economy actually grew. There's really no example. You might see some jobs disappear, but this catastrophe that people are calling for, that they think that, or that they're making this prediction that there will be less jobs because of this, I think what we don't know is what this is going to enable in terms of new jobs. I think it's going to free people up to be more innovative. And I personally believe, and if you look at human history, if you look at all the great inventions that we've made in the past, while they might disrupt a particular sector or two, they ultimately end up creating way more jobs than they.
Roger, I would have agreed with you prior to what's going on now. It is completely different this time. And I don't think we are
Anthony,
wrapping
I mean, haven't you heard of the expression, there's nothing new under the sun, Anthony?
America, respectfully, bro, how about this, right? I would like you to add your ideas to the discussion. I'd like to have something meaty from you so I could chew into it and say, okay, this is what he believes. I have no idea what you believe. I hear cheerleading, I hear, question asking. I don't know what your opinion is. I don't even know if you have an opinion. I would love to hear.
You don't think I have an opinion?
These are my thoughts. I don't know if you have. I haven't heard one yet. And I'm not trying to be funny or criticize you. This is a crazy small stage. This is a beautiful environment for us to really talk freely. And I want to know what your ideas are. How do you feel about AI and robotics? What do you know about AI and robotics? Why do you think that it's going to lead to, instead of like job destruction, to job growth? These are the reasons I believe that this is going to happen. And I can say, well, I'm going to counter it with X, Y, and Z. That's what I'd love to do that.
So Anthony, here's the thing. Here's what's on my side, is that at no time in human history has creating more efficient tools eliminated more jobs than it's created. And so I have the historical evidence that creating efficiency tools creates more jobs. What do you have to support your argument that we're going to have less jobs?
Okay, so what I have is a paradigm shift unlike anything we've ever seen. What I'm saying to you, this is not like anything that came before it. It would make sense if it wasn't a situation where the AI can actually exceed us in every facet. Everything. It can do way better than us. Way faster than us.
It can't even create a fucking image of a human being without putting 8 fingers on it.
Okay. Roger, if we were to stop and we were to talk about where AI is currently, it's in its infancy. This is brand spanking new. The idea that, the image problems that they were having in 2022 still exist in 2025, I would vehemently disagree with that. But that's like, Roger, I hear a lot of Luddite arguments right now that shows a fundamental. Yeah, Edward, I can't talk at the same time as you can. I really can't. So yeah, with that said, like I hear this is like it's like we're talking about stuff that I guess maybe some people just don't get. They don't have their fingers on the pulse.
Anthony, if I can respectfully interrupt you, I want to respectfully interrupt you, Anthony, and ask you a quick question. What do you think the following saying means? If you can say it, it is not true. What do you think that saying means? If you can say it, it is not true. What do you think that ancient Native American saying means to you?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, when I say if you can say it, it is not true, that means you're kind of doing what a lot of other people do here with this all or nothing AI position statement. A lot of people think America's going to collapse. And a lot of people say that America's going to disintegrate in 10 years. And you know what I say to those people, Anthony? If you can say it, it is not true. So, the more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you're going to get. And I think you could go all day with this all or nothing position on AI and robotics. And so again, I'll just say, if you can say it, it is not true. So I would question what you think you're saying.
And respectfully, the same thing, Anthony. Roger asked you a direct question. Please explain the jobs that is going to create.
Okay, no, he did. My position is that AI is going to destroy jobs. Roger didn't ask me to explain the jobs that it's going to create because that goes against my position, Edward. What I'm saying to you is like, whether if we're talking about, just name a profession. Name a profession. If we're talking about like surgeon, okay, 1 second, Edward. I'm literally still talking. I'm deferring to the mods, but I'm still talking right now. So here's what's up. If we're talking about surgeons, there's going to come a point at which people are going to look back and say, I can't believe you actually let a human being operate on you. That was the craziest shit I ever heard in my life. Whether we're talking about transportation, we're gonna come to a point where truck drivers, cars will not be controlled by human beings. It will be, the insurance companies won't allow it. They will not. It's going to be so cost prohibitive that they're not going to allow people to drive. There's so many industries, man. I'm trying to find an industry where AI is not going to have an impact. I think, that's where I think that's a more interesting conversation.
Can I give you one?
Plumbing.
Yeah, plumbing. Not
AI
plumbing.
can absolutely do plumbing, electrician, HVAC. It can absolutely do all of that.
Okay, so hold on.
With robotics, absolutely.
Okay, Anthony. Okay, we have storms, right? I want to ask you a question. Please explain to me from the storm viewpoint, earthquakes, high rises falling, all kinds of different things. I live in California. We had a bunch of fires going on. What is going to prevent all these things, and how is AI going to handle those particular items? And right now, with all the flooding that just took place and everything else, where and how are we going to use your robotics, your AI, to help all the natural events that actually take place? Because we need people to really go on those polls and change all that. But you're clearly saying, and I make sure I'm understanding, that all that is going to be replaced by AI.
So, if we're talking about search and rescue, the artificial intelligence enabled robots will be better than any human being, any dog sniffing, that's looking for people. It will identify the faintest heartbeats from the furthest distance, and it's going to be able to excavate and move stuff that the average human being could not move, and find and search and rescue people. And this is not. It'll have LiDAR and radar type sensors that can look beneath debris and find human beings. And I don't understand. Is that climbing poles? This is what you got? This is the best that you got? We can do so much better, Edward. This is Edward. It's not.
Anthony, hold on. Anthony, you can't do that. Okay, Anthony, listen. Right now, we got men all over the country who still climb poles. What you're sharing with me, I hear you loud and clear. But again, we have new innovation. We have robotics, all these things, which were created by the human being. Okay? That's who created it. Okay? Don't get it twisted. I don't know why we're limiting and want to replace us with robots. I just don't understand. You said, climbing a pole, is that the best I have? Yes, that's the best I have. You know why? Because there is nowhere in the world you're replacing Edward. Okay? And yes, I will use the tools. I will. Yes, you got to do it. You can laugh at it. At the end of the day, we got laughter, man. Because listen, this is probably why most of us right now are not critical thinkers, because we're relying on the AI and the robot. Go ahead, Joe.
Joe, you got it. I'll go after you.
So I'll be short. I was involved with the first set of internet development, and it began by humans inputting all of the data that got it up and going, and expanded now today into AI. So the more we, and it expanded because, quote, the internet has run out of space in terms of collecting the data, and now AI is taking over to expand it. It's the new generation of computerization. You got to get used to it. I don't like it. It's what it is.
Joe, respectfully, I have no idea what you just said. This idea that the internet ran out of space, I don't know what you mean by that.
All right, I'll expand. The internet was only developed to answer questions, not theorize or critical think, air quotes. AI is being utilized to critically think. Ask anyone who is in IT in the military. Just ask them.
You know, if we want efficiencies, the efficiencies have to be applied to the government. The amount of accounting and bookkeeping required just to file your taxes. Have you seen the IRS hand manual, the micro print, the thousands of pages of information? It's incomprehensible and unusable. It means nothing to the average person filing a tax return. So, again, a lot of this comes out to Congress, your senator, and your congressman, borrowing from the Federal Reserve to continue funding a broken system that enslaves you, traps you, and causes you more work than you need to do. Should you spend 2 days out of your annual year filing your taxes and getting your car's emissions tested? They waste our time on shit that technology can clearly and easily resolve. And we're all paying property taxes and income taxes to fund a government that is borrowing on top of the money we're already giving them. This insanity has to come to an end. It's my opinion. But people who are all or nothing on AI, it's like you think the reality just got invented or something. I mean, this is tens of thousands of years of progress to get here. And just because there's an AI chatbot that can create incredibly well-formulated sentences in response to you, don't be easily confused with regards to intelligence and spam. ChatGPT and the way people use it is like rats in a fucking cocaine testing box. It's dopamine and spam, and it's not making people smarter. It's making people into automatons.
All right, cool story, bro. I want to talk about like practical.
You know what? Cool story to you, Anthony. Go ahead and tell us your cool story, sir. I can't wait to hear your cool story. Go ahead.
No problem.
Go ahead. Let's hear this cool story, Anthony.
It's no problem, American. I'm happy to tell my cool story, right? My cool story is like one of the most innovative, prolific inventors known to man, Elon Musk, has been promising self-driving vehicles for over a decade. Over a decade now. This would not be possible. We would not reach robo-taxi level of autonomy were it not for the innovation of artificial intelligence. We could not program our way into self-driving vehicles. There was too many edge cases, too many weirdo scenarios that you just could not program for. Tesla has more video data behind the wheel of an automobile than any other company in the world. It has fed that data into its supercomputers, and it has taught these cars how to drive orders of magnitude better than human beings. This is the practical
cool story, bro.
American, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I was just messing around. I didn't mean anything by it. It's a small stage. I don't want to.
Well, the point is park your car. The point is park your car, sir. Since we have this incredible supercomputer, get to your point, Dr. Anthony.
No, American. Brother, I specialize in disrespect. I'm really good at it. I'm really, really good at it. All right? We have 6 people on stage and you're telling me to park my car. If you want me to get live, I'll get live with you. That's what I do.
So Anthony, I never tell you to park your car, so you don't have 6.
Go ahead, Anthony. Get live.
Thank you for the moderation, Mojo.
Well, listen. I just want to make sure everybody feels that there's not imbalance here in this conversation. I don't mind if it turns contentious, or if you guys settle your differences a different way. But I'm here. I got my pop. Let's go.
I love it.
Hey, Dr. Anthony, can we bring in AI to help us out? Because, I mean, we need to monitor this because we can't do it on our own.
Edward, humor is not your strong suit, man. You're a very pious man, and I have the utmost respect for you. But every man has his limitations, and clearly you have yours.
Thank you. I have
maybe you can have AI write you some jokes, man.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony, I'm just.
I got a question. Who do we think Edward would be most like in terms of TV dads? Would he be Mr. Winslow? Would he be Mr. Huxtable? Who do we think? Maybe on Good Times. Who is the TV dad that Edward is most like? Anthony, what do you think?
I'm going with Cliff Huxtable. That's how I'm going. With the lovely Claire Huxtable, the lovely super cute family, and the kids that are all have done they're positive contributing members of society. That's what I'm rocking.
I was going with Mr. Brady, Roger.
I was gonna say perhaps Ward Cleaver.
Yeah, there you go. Now we talking. See, now you're giving me some real steam. Now there you go. I take Mr. Cleaver anytime.
See, I don't think Bill Cosby would even be close to an accurate representation. I watched that show a lot as a kid, and in hindsight, and knowing what he did to women, whether it's true or not, he's free. But I don't ever remember God ever being mentioned on the Cosbys, not even once. And it's sad that.
Granted, that is true, but I don't know which TV dad we can point to where God was featured prominently in there.
Isn't it Family Matters with Steve Urkel? And that dad, he seemed like a Bible believer in the South Side of Chicago. He was a cop. But Bill Cosby, I wonder if, that show is kind of indicative of who he is as a person, which is a predator.
You guys ever watch Rock?
Yeah, that's a good point. He didn't have any kids. Did he have kids? He had kids. I do think that you could.
There's an episode you guys should Google where some drug dealer comes to the house and he throws them out of the house. It was pretty badass. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty badass, but I don't think Edward's that volatile. I don't see that.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm going to tell you in my lived experience, and I've been told that that's the most important framing for any conversation, is that the people that speak softly and the people that remain calm, there's a trigger that can be pulled. And I would imagine that if you did the wrong thing, the thing that stepped over the line with Edward, I think there's a line you could cross where you would see a different version of him, and it's probably something that is uncomfortable for him.
One day Edward came into the room that I frequent and tried the Bible thumping, and they kicked him out of that room so fast.
And we're back into that shit was the funniest shit in the history of Clubhouse.
I know, but Anthony, remember, this is the challenge that we have, that people don't want discourse. That's the funny thing.
Edward, I figured it out. The Steve Harvey show. You could be Steve Harvey, for sure.
Let me just be Edward. I like that one. But Roger, I do appreciate the fact that you are associating me with different characters on television. You know I live in Hollywood. You know I live in California. I mean, so. But Anthony, you're correct. But I'm going to still go back to Anthony. The Discord is better, and you and I can go back and forth always, because you know I respect the fact that you have your own views, your own belief system. But when you go into a space and people don't even allow you to share whatever position you have, to me, it tells me that you're weaker, you're not stronger. Because if you believe something and someone challenges your belief system and you can't stand up for it, why do you believe it?
Edward, I agree with you, and I wasn't happy that you got thrown out. It was just funny to me how it went down, because it's like you were that, you know, that voice of, you know, from a religious perspective, in a room full of heathen, and it was like they wanted no part of what you were selling. That, you know, I saw the humor in that, but I'm not a fan of anybody getting kicked out. I've been kicked out of plenty of rooms. So
Anthony, let me ask you a question. You said earlier that you think America should go socialist. Why do you think that's an optimal economic model? And is that just a code word for you want to increase borrowing and spending in the future?
America, I didn't say that America should go socialist. I see no other outcome. That's my stance. I don't see any other possibility. I see the UBI on steroids as being the only plausible outcome. If you believe like I believe about AI, see, and it's an interesting argument that we're having on the stage about the prospects for AI. There are people that believe in the human spirit and the human ingenuity, and that, you know, we got this, and it's just going to lead to, you know, a golden age. And there's people that see it very, very differently. You know, I don't know how much the people that are pushing a certain point of view actually really know about the capabilities of AI. But it is what it is. I'm no expert. I'm not, you know, I'm not writing white papers on it. So, but I just don't see another outcome.
But they got to be white. No, calm down, Americans. It's not white and black, bro. Anthony, the funny thing is, like you said, it is in its infancy. And I like what Joe B said, you know. These tools that we've had, you know, at one point they said there'd be no more paper. Remember that? They're going to get rid of paper. And Y2K came around, and we're going to not have, I mean, there's so much stuff that people predict. And you're right. We do have autonomous cars, and we have all these things. But I still think, for me, I'm one of those people that believe in the human spirit. I believe in God. And like the young lady said in the chat, and you know this, Anthony, why would you get kicked out of any space, me, just because I have a different standard, where I believe that we should take care of our responsibility as men, that we should take care of the children that we have on the planet, that we should not be involved with women that's not our spouses, that we should not be using substance abuse to cause our families harm, that we should be responsible. I got kicked out of a space because I bought a different standard. And I like what Sig said. Yeah, I speak softly, but like Roger said, at the end of the day, you come from my family. I do believe in the Second Amendment very well, and my wife actually shoots better than I do. So we're not stupid people. And I tell people all the time, I believe in Christ, but at the same time, I'm going to protect my family.
Edward, I would never confuse you with a coward. I've never gotten that vibe from you. It just so happens that in the space that you were in, all of the things that you talk about, the people in that space overwhelmingly don't support it. And your standard,
the source code
was jarring, and they did not even feel the need to engage with you and refute your system. They thought it would be more expedient to drop kick you out the room. Now, you know, listen, find humor in all kinds of shit. And I found humor in that as well. I didn't like the fact that you got kicked out of the room. I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of it. If it was up to me, you would never have gotten kicked out of that room. However, it was just that, like coming in Bible thumping in a room full of heathens is crazy work, bro. And I wish you good luck with that.
Well, Anthony, I will say this to you. It's so interesting. You say Bible thumping, but everybody can thump whatever they want anytime, and everybody's okay with it. We thump the side chick. We thump cheating and the big booties and breasts. This is what we thump. We thump not taking care of our families. We believe that the people sitting around who are white, we think they're thinking about black people. They're not. So when someone comes in with a reasonable understanding, says you are 100% responsible for your own life, you have the opportunity to believe in God to get some assistance, and then all of a sudden, we promote, like Six said, we promote LGBTQ, we support abortion, we support all these things, but no one comes in and says, hey guys, just maybe there's a different way. And you say, not you, Anthony, but the people in the room say, we don't hear no Bible stuff, we don't hear nothing about no Christian, none of it. I'm like, wow, and you're right. That day I got kicked out, I even told my wife, this is where we are today. We can't even have Discord anymore. At one point in America, we could have a conversation, we didn't disagree, and Ryder said this the other day. I thought it was sticks and stone would break our bones. But now we can't say gay, we can't say you got pronouns, all this stupid stuff going on, man. Men can get pregnant, we got drag queens. I'm sorry. You know what I mean.
We can't even
Edward, let me ask you,
it's a retard anymore.
Edward, let me ask you a direct question. Direct question. Do you think you're a religious zealot?
No, I do not. I think I'm a person who has a belief system that wants to share that system. But you can have that opinion. I don't know what that really means because I'm not a religious man at all. I just happen to believe in God. I think people like to label people. Like people say, you're ethnically black man. No, I'm ethnically responsible. No one talks about the responsibility. Most people talk about ethnicity. I hear a lot of people talk about that. But I learned this, and correct me, Anthony, is excellence, is integrity, is responsibility. Does that have an ethnicity on it? Or is that just excellence?
Not whatsoever. And if you've seen me in any of these clubhouse streets, you'll know that I certainly speak to that all the time. And I get drowned out by certain people because of my belief system. So yeah, I definitely. But according to your worldview, do you think there's multiple ways to get to heaven, or only one way to get to heaven?
I don't think there's no way to get to heaven. I don't think heaven was ever the goal. Not for Edward. I was created on the earth. I was not created in heaven. I do not believe the philosophy that people have. I believe that that's why he's coming back. If heaven was our goal, I just die and go to heaven. But that's not the purpose. God never came to say, Edward, I want you to go to heaven. Actually, God wants Edward to live on earth and make sure he's doing right by the people on earth. I can't do anything in heaven. Zero. Cannot. Not even a little bit. So me dying and going to heaven is not going to take anything. But me being kind and respectful and give people an opportunity to listen to them and forgive my wife, forgive my children, they forgive me, I think that's a lot greater because I get to live like that on earth, not in heaven.
So Edward, do you think that everyone is kind and is respectful and takes care of people is going to have eternal life?
If they choose to follow the principles of the Word of God, I think that the kindness of the human being would be better. Whether or not, it's not up to me that they have eternal life because I didn't set the rules. But I think that us showing each other kindness, like even just having this conversation now, Anthony, and talking, the respect that you have and I have, listening to each other. So I can't answer for other people because I don't know what people going through inside their heart. But I will endeavor every single day to be the best person I could be, and try my hardest to love myself so I can love my fellow man also.
To paraphrase crazy because I can't remember word for word what you said. It sounded like you said if they had, a similar belief system to you, it would be better. If people that are kind and look out for it, but if they believed in the word, whatever word you use, it would be better. And that, I've been doing the tap dance with you, and I respect it completely. It's been a great back and forth, and I appreciate you, and I love the tone of it. But I think that's like that's the zealotry, and I'm not knocking you for it. But I have some people that are extremely close to me that low key they're zealots. You know what I'm saying? They're but it is what it is. Like a part of being a true believer is to be a zealot, and it's like I think that there's a lot of people that feel
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Ask you a question. So I don't know how familiar you are with the Bible, and I'm not even identified as a Christian, but I let's just put it this way: I've read it a time or two. There's not a lot of dust on my Bible, and my understanding is that you don't need to be a zealot. In fact, it illustrates very clearly that all that's required is faith, and they even quantify that you only need faith the size of a mustard seed. So I think you're just I think that what you're saying, it's your opinion, but it's not consistent with the teachings in the Bible.
That's cool, and I appreciate that, and I may very well be wrong, but my perception is that and it's deep because when you talk about like being kind and being good to people, I'm not under the impression that based on the Bible I've read that's a requirement to make it happen.
Anthony, I like that, Anthony, but Anthony, you didn't ask me if it's a requirement or not. I gave you my observation. But did any of you guys have the opportunity to witness the funeral for the person that just died over in the United Kingdom? The Black Sabbath guy?
No, I didn't see it.
So you guys weren't. Look at some of the people who dressed up, the Black Sabbath, and all the things that they've done. Yet you say that and I come with good intention, and yet I'm still telling you I take that every day. I wear that badge because I never want to say to someone, hey, this guy is kind person every day. He loves his wife. I take it all day, Anthony.
So, and I'm glad you said that, right? It's not meant as an insult. I think that, it's, last week, Roger and I were having a back and forth. It was about tariffs and free market. And, Roger is a self-proclaimed, free market zealot, right? He had an issue that day with tariffs. I don't know what his stance is right now, but I think that having strong beliefs is okay. I don't this time like you said, there's certain things that I hold true to me, and I'm a zealot about certain things.
What are you a zealot about?
I'm a zealot about my family. What are you a zealot about?
I'm a zealot about zealots, I suppose. People who make all or nothing statements all the time.
I'm a zealot about gun rights. I'm a zealot about free market capitalism. That's about it.
So
I don't think I would ever use the term zealot for myself, but like I said, I wear the badge because coming on Clubhouse and me getting kicked out of a room because people think I'm a Bible thumper, and only because I mentioned a couple scriptures as a standard, it just shows me where our society has gone. And I think that what makes Clubhouse and why it is so what I call outside of the boundaries now, because we can't have discourse. I know people don't agree with everything Edward says. People have all kinds of belief systems. But for someone to come at someone who wants to do right, it's just interesting to me. That's all. I don't know how to answer this, because like you said, if it was up to you, you wouldn't have kicked me out. But can we not have discord anymore of just having a conversation of what could be?
Speaking of discourse, is this, are we talking about anything, or is this like a meta discourse room?
It's a meta discourse. So Edward, like you keep on talking about people wanting to do right. This is part of the issue.
Clubhouse all
Your
around me.
idea about what's right versus what somebody else's idea about what's right, it doesn't make you correct in your assertion and them wrong. There's no moral imperative. I am not the standard bearer for the world. My belief system is not the standard for everybody else to be judged. Like you speak in this idea of absolutes that, that's kind of, like going in line with the ideas I'm talking about.
Understood. Okay, so the challenge that you and I are going to have is that you have no absolutes. But you do have absolute AI is going to take over everything, and we're going to lose our jobs, and we're not going to have that. So you do have that absolute something, except in just being a good person. Now, if I say to you, me cheating on my wife is not absolutely wrong, or me going in and smashing and grabbing, or me doing something to violate another human being, I think that what you're saying when I say what's right, I believe that there are certain things that we all know that is what I would say good behavior, correct behavior. But you want to say, well, you're not morally correct for everybody. I'm not saying that. I've never said that. Because I can't choose for you or anybody else. But I do have a right as a person to share my viewpoint and my belief system, and people want to accept it or not. But for you to say that you think I'm being morally for everybody else, that is entirely not true, because if I could be, we wouldn't have a lot of challenges that we currently have in the world.
Okay. We're getting kind of circular now, and it's cool. Listen, Edward, I like you. So, Edward, I like you. I think you're like you stand on business. You have a belief system. You have ethics. You have a rule that that you follow. And dude, like we don't have to agree, but I like consistent people, and you're a consistent person. So it's there's fine details that we could explore and dig into and suss out the differences, but
it seems
I don't want to bore them to tears.
It seems to me like there's two types of people: the aggressive, obnoxious, antagonistic people, and the people that have found peace, solemnity, equilibrium, balance, and joy, and they don't spend their time getting angry or attacking people. And unfortunately, in the religious community and in the atheistic community, there are people within both of those communities that are very antagonistic. But it's the people who, in my opinion, that have found enlightenment, that have absorbed the wisdom and actually utilize it in their personality, that they have obtained the wisdom that's within the Bible and other books. And it's the antagonistic people that have not picked those books up in years and come on here and are very angry and very loud, very antagonistic, and they want to stir the pot and they want to poke the stick. Those people, to me, are obnoxious and low IQ. That's my opinion.
Cool. So, to me,
another cool story.
Anthony, I do like the discourse we had. What's up, Dwight? You haven't got an opportunity to share anything.
Yeah, appreciate it. Man, I ain't gonna lie, I forget now. Y'all were talking about something. I was gonna speak to it, and that is.
I think you were talking about AI when you were commenting in the chat, Dwight.
Yeah.
And I love your name, Dwight, man. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, nah, it's like my face was triggering people, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just lean into it. But I really don't troll though. I actually don't. I really just chill. Like I have regular conversations, but you know, whatever. So yeah, I forget. It was something that y'all were talking about AI, and I think I fell somewhere in the middle, but I forget the exact point I was gonna make. But it's all good.
In the chat, I read where you said that you agreed with everything I was saying except for one point. And I was curious to know if you remember what that one point was. Maybe me saying that might jog your memory. It might not. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So basically, I do remember now. So you were talking about how, you know, like the other people in the conversation were kind of disagreeing. Like they were saying, you know, AI can't even do this, it can't even do that. And you're like, nah, y'all don't understand. Like it not only can do that, but it's already doing that. And while you acknowledge that, you know, Roger had made the point that, you know, listen, we've recovered from these sorts of changes every time, which I agree with. But you basically responded that, you know, look, I get that, but this is unprecedented, right? So I agree with you on that. I think that the one place where I disagree is that I fall somewhere in the middle, because all of the people that were responding saying AI can't do this, AI can't do that, I think that's very, very misleading. Tech is actually kind of like my background before I started doing what I do now, so I have a kind of foot in, foot out of the tech world. But I think people are very much misunderestimating the application and the like how broad the applications of this is going to be and how many jobs it will replace. And it's not even like debatable. It's not even a question. Like especially if you're a person that is, you know, pro capitalism. Listen, if I'm a company and I want to make money, and I want to keep my costs low, AI is going to be my number one goal right now. Anything that I can automate and make less cheap to make it happen, I'm gonna do that. I don't give a fuck about your humanity. Like, oh, I want to hire humans. I'm sure there's gonna be some companies that do that, but let's be honest, like that they're not. They're gonna do what makes the most fucking money at the end of the day. So I think the only place where I disagree with you, and I think Roger has kind of a point. When it comes to kind of historically how these things work, like what happened to all the telephone operators? What happened to all the people that serviced payphones? You know what I'm saying? We have all of these examples of ways where what actually ends up happening is the jobs that are needed just tends to shift. So I think that like it's just not so doomsday scenario for me. I do have a little bit of optimism, and that's one place where I do agree with Edward. I do agree with like just human will and just the ability of us as a society to kind of figure things out to some extent. But it's definitely it would be due to us shifting how we operate in society, not due to like, oh yeah, we're just gonna hire people because it's the right thing to do. Like corporations, companies that are trying to make a profit, and especially if you're publicly traded with your literal fiduciary duties to your shareholders, you have to do that. You will literally, the board is going to remove you if you don't utilize AI